In recognition of guests, the Honourable Premier.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and welcome back, everyone, and welcome to our guests in the gallery. I know that none of us were thrilled to see the snowfall again this morning. It's, I guess, something we have to get used to this time of year, but it doesn't make it any easier. It's a long, long winter for us. This morning I attended, Mr. Speaker, the opening of the Easter Beef Show, and it was great to see. After speaking with a few of the farmers there, it was clear that, like the rest of us, they're very worried about the threat of tariffs and the impact on their industry. And we all know that Island Beef is world class, and our government will be there to support them. Finally, Mr. Speaker, a bit of good news out of your district, in fact. Congratulations to Dee Dee Austin from Abequate First Nation here in Scotchford PEI, who performed on Canada's Got Talent this week. And Dee Dee received the Golden Buzzer from Howie Mandel, and she's going straight to the semifinals of the competition, which is great news. Dee Dee performed an original song titled "Buried Truth" that she wrote about residential schools and the pain and suffering this dark part of our history caused, and she dedicated the song and her performance to her great-grandmother, a survivor of the residential school system. The performance was very powerful, and the Golden Buzzer was very well deserved. So Dee Dee resides in Nova Scotia with her family, but was very proud to say that she was from Abequate First Nation in her interviews following her performance, and I know the whole island is proud of her for her incredible feat, and I invite this legislature to join me in sending her well wishes on the next round of the competition.
The Leader of the Opposition.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. And as the Premier mentioned, yeah, today was kind of a mix of weather. I know I left Tignish around 6 a.m. and it was raining at that time, and I met snow, rain, slush, snow all the way down, but it wasn't too bad to be driving, but that's not to be unexpected at this time of the year, just as long as we're prepared for it. But I prefer to see this weather coming in November and December when it was more welcomed as opposed to this time of the year. You may have all been listening to CBC radio this morning. Wayne Thibodeau had interviewed Sullivan Gallant, a grade 12 student at Westall Composite High School who hails from my area, Norway, just outside of Tignish. And he was one of 36 Canadians right across the country, obviously, who received the Loran Scholarship. And this is quite a prestigious scholarship. It's for 4 years, and there was over 6,000 applicants to it. And I know Sullivan personally, and obviously a great choice. He's an individual who takes the initiative to do things on not being pushed by others. You know, some students maybe, we see it as MLAs, especially when they come in looking for support in the summertime for jobs or what have you. It's the parents sometimes that are pushing them, but this individual, it's himself, he's driven, he's going to go places. I'm very, very proud of him. He's done a lot of community work over the years. He's reached out to me to ask, how can I volunteer? Who do I talk to in the community? And it's really nice to see that this young person was rewarded for his work and his dedication to the community and to his schoolwork. So this undergraduate award was very well deserved. His family, his parents, Timmy and Cindy Goody, and his sisters would all be and are very proud of him. His focus has always been in volunteering, has been towards senior citizens in the area where he delivers Meals on Wheels. He's at the seniors home in Tignish. Just spending time with seniors and just being an ear sometimes to listen to their stories. So our future is in great hands because of individuals like Sullivan, and I wish him all the best in his future endeavors, and I look forward to watching them unfold. Thank you.
The Leader of the Third Party.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and welcome back to all my colleagues and clerks and pages today, and welcome to everybody joining us in the gallery, and special welcome to Bethany Collicutt McNabb sitting there in the corner. Always nice to see you. I was wondering when we would see you. I would just like to take this opportunity to congratulate the Vice Principal of Athena Consolidated School, Melissa Noonan-Gallant. Back in the fall, she won the Distinguished Vice Principal of the Year Award for PEI, and as a result, her name was placed into the national competition, which she just found out that she actually won. So congratulations, Melissa, on being the Canada's Distinguished Vice Principal of the Year. That's incredible, and your students and staff are very lucky to have you, as are we as a province. I'd also like to congratulate Noah Hemphill, the former Premier's nephew. He is currently on a Rotary Youth Exchange in France, and just found out that he was one of very few, I forget the exact number, but one of very few students to win the Sobey National Innovator Scholarship Award. So he won $50,000 towards his education at St. Mary's University next year. So we're very proud of you, Noah. Congratulations. This evening at the Guild and playing all weekend is a play called What's Eating You? And it's a play, I'm actually going this evening, it's a play about self-acceptance, estranged friends, and a zombie apocalypse. So it's a dark comedy, apparently. It opens tonight, and it's produced and stage managed by our very own Grace Kempinski. And there's a great cast featuring Ash Arsenault, Cameron McDonald, Graham Putnam, Cassandra Bolger, Marley Trecarton, and Noah Nazim. You can buy tickets on the Guild's website. And last week, Bryn Devine and Liz Corney, the co-founders of Blooming House, were honored with the King Charles III Coronation Medal, and it's a recognition reserved for those who made a significant contribution to Canada. It is such a well-recognized, such a well-deserved recognition. You've done a lot for Canada, and more specifically, you've done so much for PEI, and you continue to do so every day. I had the opportunity to meet with them a couple of weeks ago just to get an update and see what their visions were and how things were going, and just an ongoing thank you for everything that you do for this province. And of course, on April 9th at the Trailside, the Blooming House is hosting what has become an annual event called PEI's Got Talent, and there will be 20 incredible acts that will perform, and they're hoping for a full house to cheer on a local talent and raise funds in support of Blooming House. So every ticket sold helps provide a safe space for island women experiencing homelessness, giving them the support they need to build a brighter future. So I hope to see lots of faces in there. And speaking of talent, it was already mentioned by the Premier, but Dee Dee Austin, what a performance she had on Canada's Got Talent. And she had, her song and performance was just so hauntingly raw and honest. It's such an honest piece of work, a very important piece of work. And to be showcased on a stage in that way, in more pop culture, I think is a really huge breakthrough and accomplishment. So congratulations to Dee Dee. Canada and PEI will be cheering you on from the sidelines. And with that, I wish everyone a good day. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The member for O'Leary-Inverness.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And today is indeed a great day in the riding for O'Leary-Inverness. It's the second time in a row we've got a contingency of constituents in the gallery, and I don't think that's ever happened before. But yeah. So anyway, I do want to acknowledge some of the people in the gallery here today. We have Greg McCormick, Joanne Bolter, Christine Smallman, Bruce Smallman, and Bethany Collicutt McNabb, although not part of the committee and the contingency that's here, but she grew up in the West Point region. So as you know, Mr. Speaker, there's probably no other iconic structure as the West Point Lighthouse that has as much recognition in this provincial legislature, whether it's question period or for member statements, and the list goes on. And in fact, the member from Tyne Valley Sherbrooke even acknowledged, boy, I've seen the picture today on how much the sand is building up in front of the lighthouse. So the West Point Lighthouse, the West Point Development Committee is part of a 150th events committee, and they are promoting the West Point Lighthouse 150th anniversary. And I'll just give you a few small things that they're doing. They have a float that's going in many parades. They even have a play that's wrote by Bev Bolter, and I guess yours truly is going to actually play A.E. McLean in that particular three-night play. So we'll have to go with that. And also, the lighthouse, as everybody knows, has a 4-star rating as an accommodation in Prince Edward Island, and it has won so many awards and recognition as a heritage site over the years. I will be giving a member statement with a little more detail, hopefully within the 90 seconds that you allocate me. Thanks, Mr. Speaker.
You bring guests from O'Leary, you might get some extra seconds there for sure. The member for New Haven, Rocky Point.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker. I wanted to rise today to acknowledge an event that I was privileged enough to attend last night at the Charlottetown Library. It was an event called, well, it was put on by Ideas, CBC program Ideas, and it was called Ideas for a Better Canada, and it looked at a very timely debate on the state of democracy here in Canada, starting in the birthplace of Confederation. This was a taping for a series that will start actually just the week before the upcoming federal election. It was a fabulous conversation and debate, and I from Ideas hosted it. And our own Kerry Campbell, who I see sitting behind me here, was one of 5 panelists. Kerry Campbell was there with Ed MacDonald, with Sarah Outram, with Chris Ortenberger, and with Sadie McNeil. And they all contributed enormously to a very lively conversation. There were some great questions at the end, to a packed house. All the tickets for this went in a matter of a few seconds. Anyway, I was reminded yet again of the importance and the value of our public broadcaster here in Canada and on PEI. And I want to thank everybody who went last night, and for CBC and Ideas for bringing the program here to Prince Edward Island. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Statements by members, starting with the member for O'Leary Inverness.
Thanks. There are very few structures in PEI that are as symbolic to the testament of time on PEI as the West Point, the Lighthouse Museum and Inn. Construction of the lighthouse commenced in 1873 on a sandy location in the westerly end of Prince Edward Island in the community of West Point, with a mandate to warn mariners and fishers alike of potential risk of shallow water, guidance to a safe harbour in that section of the Northumberland Strait. The West Point Lighthouse was to become PEI's tallest lighthouse at 20.6 metres and the only lighthouse painted black and white stripes because of the need for improved visibility during the daytime, and black did not fade as fast for mariners to see in the distance compared to the customary red and white striped lighthouses on PEI. The West Point Lighthouse was the first lighthouse commissioned and paid for by the Government of Canada. It also became the first lighthouse in Canada that was decommissioned and transferred by way of a lease to the West Point Development Corporation, a registered non-profit community organization in 1983, who then promptly made it the first working lighthouse in Canada, while it converted the lighthouse to a museum and inn where guests could stay in a 2-room lighthouse guest house and attached the 11-room inn. In 2002, the lighthouse was the first lighthouse transferred by way of ownership deed to the corporation. This facility has undergone numerous renovations over the years to maintain the 4-star tourism rating it maintains, a PEI heritage designation, and was ranked the 11th most picturesque lighthouse accommodation in the world. The West Point Development Corporation has commenced the celebration this year, 2025, as the 150th anniversary of the West Point Lighthouse and Museum and Inn, with 150 social media posts as well as other events to mark the occasion. And I encourage all that are welcome to come to West Point in the riding for O'Leary Inverness and learn about what a special place West Point and its famous lighthouse has become and continues to be. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The member for Borden Kincora.
I rise today to pay tribute to someone who has left a greater mark on our island than most of us will ever accomplish. Elmer MacDonald passed away at his home in Augustine Cove on January 27, 2025, leaving a legacy of contributions to Prince Edward Island that will be forever remembered. Elmer's involvement in island life and his recognitions are extensive. Chair of the PEI Potato Board, National President of the Canadian Horticultural Association and also the Canadian Association of Fairs and Exhibitions, member of the Atlantic Agricultural Hall of Fame, recipient of the Order of PEI, recipient of the Rotary Paul Harris Fellowship. I was honored to serve alongside Elmer in the role of co-chair of South Shore Health and Wellness, which established the current patient medical home in Crapo. Here I saw firsthand the passion he brought to community service. Elmer served as president of the Crapo exhibition and sat on the exhibition board for over 40 years, being instrumental in bringing the well-known tractor pulls to the exhibition. Community agricultural fairs were a passion of Elmer's. Elmer lived just down the road from me. On more than one occasion, Mr. Speaker, I'd get up in the morning, start breakfast, and happen to glance outside to see Elmer's black truck sitting in my lane, with Elmer in it, quietly reading The Guardian. Each time I'd go out and then sit in the passenger seat and say to him, "Next time, Elmer, would you please come to the house and knock on the door?" His response was always the same: "I didn't want to bother you. Would you just have a few minutes?" One of Elmer's biggest passions in life was the state of Island land. He was honoured to serve and to lead various land committees, including the Royal Commission on the Land, the Round Table on Land Use and Stewardship, and the Task Force on Agriculture. He led the way in practicing and promoting sustainable agriculture and improved soil health. He continued to express great concern about the loss of farmland in PEI through to his final days, hoping that something could be done to preserve this precious island resource. Elmer lived each day of his life seeking to make a positive impact on his community and province. Elmer was my neighbour, my friend, someone who I held in the highest respect, and who will continue to serve as a role model for how I live my own life. He was someone dedicated to service. Elmer is survived by his wife Annie Lee, his son Dwayne, who will carry on the family farm, his daughters Karen McKay and Canda McNeil, his brother Earl, and 5 grandchildren. Elmer is also survived, Mr. Speaker, by every Prince Edward Islander who took value and pride in their community, attended a provincial fair or exhibition, and who shares his concern about our island land. Thank you.
The member for Rustico Emerald.
Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm honoured to rise today to recognize 2 outstanding individuals, Kim Green and Wayne Carew, who are being inducted into the Junior Achievement Business Hall of Fame. Firstly, I would like to congratulate Kim Green. Kim is the former owner of Kay's Wholesale Inc., where she led the business to expand 5 times, achieving sales of over $11 million. After selling the business in 2021, Kim purchased the Old Village Bakery in North Rustico in 2022, and under her ownership, the bakery's sales increased by 110% over the next 2 years. My daughter Annika Trivers had the pleasure of working at the bakery during the last 2 summers, witnessing firsthand Kim's entrepreneurial spirit and dedication. Beyond her business ventures, Kim has mentored countless young entrepreneurs, offering guidance and inspiration. Her impact is far-reaching, and she continues to serve as a role model. Congratulations, Kim, on this well-deserved recognition. I'm also pleased to recognize Wayne Carew, a constituent of mine from Stanley Bridge. Wayne's contributions to business, community development, and public service in PEI are commendable. His leadership was instrumental as chair of the 2023 Canada Winter Games and co-chair of the 2009 Canada Summer Games. Wayne has played a significant role in economic and community development, chairing the Slemon Park Corporation Board and serving as president of the Summerside Regional Development Corporation. His dedication extended to healthcare and education, serving on various boards. As a respected entrepreneur, Wayne owned Career Chev Olds Cadillac and Carew Ford Lincoln. Currently, he serves as senior counsel at Confederation M&A. Congratulations, Wayne, on this well-deserved recognition. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, members. Questions by members, starting with responses to questions taken as notice. The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Question for the Premier. The tariff war got worse yesterday, and thousands of friends and neighbours across Canada could be very badly damaged by the actions of the American government. Of course, we are very worried that this may be just the latest assault in a growing economic war with the United States. Yesterday, I was looking for some assurances from the Premier, but instead of a clear and focused plan, I got fear and uncertainty. Here's what the Premier said, and I quote, "Our entire economy is under threat. We are very dependent," end quote. But yesterday, I basically heard the Premier say his response to this massive problem is communication. Premier, is that really an adequate response to this huge threat to our economy?
The Honourable Premier.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And yes, we're all well aware of the threat to our economy. And of course, as the Leader of the Opposition referred to, yesterday Donald Trump up to the ante again and has announced that on April 2nd, as part of his reciprocal tariffs, that there will be a 25% tariff on autos and auto parts. That is a significant problem for not just the economy of Ontario. Of course, Prince Edward Island does not produce autos, but what's good for Ontario and the auto industry is good for Canada, and that is a serious threat. And we're still yet to see what else Donald Trump will announce for reciprocal tariffs on April 2nd. So, yes, things have gone from bad to worse, but we've learned that this is going to be a very difficult time, and I think that we need to buckle down. And as I said, our government will be there to respond to this problem as it evolves.
Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. So about 2 months ago, the opposition issued a statement calling on this government to consider ending all contracts and involvement with American interests. 36 hours later, the government issued a statement saying they would do exactly that. Then the so-called plan released says the government will review all involvement with American businesses. Premier, has that review been completed, and which contracts have been halted?
Honourable the Minister of Finance.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Yes, we've reviewed all our contracts. What I would like to report to the House is there's not a lot of contracts held in, there's not a lot of American contracts that are held within the work that we do day to day. The ones that are there, we're reviewing, and we're working with other provinces on what defines a U.S. company. We also have to look at, sometimes there's just operational things that have to happen, and we need that. For instance, we may get some health products supplied from the States that we can't get in Canada. There's lots of instances where this has to happen. Technology is another one. IT technology, sometimes we can only get those contracts through the U.S., so there's very minimal that we have within our procurement practices right now, but what is there we are looking at, and we're also looking at alternatives. We're trying to pivot and look for alternatives within Canada, and I think the other thing is looking at our contracts as well and getting some legal advice on what's our existing contracts, and also looking to the future on contracts and what we can embed in those contracts to make sure that we're ensuring that we're supporting Canadian economy as a preference. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Leader of the Opposition.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. So back not that long ago, actually maybe a month ago or 6 weeks ago, in public accounts, I actually asked and sent a letter asking for a list of all the contracts that involve American interests. And if it's a short list and she knows the list, why haven't public accounts received that list? So that's what we're hoping to see in the very near future then. So according to the 2023 financial report of the Workers' Compensation Board, there are tens of millions of dollars invested in the United States. Question to the Premier. Is the government going to move those assets into Canada?
The Minister of Finance.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Yeah, that's something that we can absolutely look at. Within our work that we are doing, we are looking beyond core government to see exactly what you're asking for and what is being involved with there. So this is something I'm sure, I think we are already looking at, but I will confirm and bring that back to the House. Thank you.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Thank you very much. Not much confidence there. Mr. Speaker, I'm going to have more questions in the coming days and in the coming weeks about tens of millions of government bodies that have invested in the United States. In other words, our involvement is much, much deeper than a few bottles of bourbon at the liquor store. Will the Premier commit to bringing back to this House the precise list of all public dollars invested in the United States through public pension funds and the Workers' Compensation Board?
The Honourable Premier.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And I guess the one thing that's emerged from this entire situation with this economic war with the United States is that maybe we've relied too heavily on easy access to the U.S. market. But That's by, by history and geographic location, it obviously makes sense. But we're beginning to learn that we need to broaden our horizons and look elsewhere, make investments elsewhere, build new trading partnerships. But I would say if he wants us to look at where we're investing money, it's probably got some of his pension money sunk into some U.S. funds, I'm sure. We are inextricably linked to the United States in many ways, but we are working hard to diversify ourselves, to look elsewhere. We have free trade agreements with the European Union. There are many opportunities there. We know that, as the member pointed out yesterday, much of our export activity goes to the United States. In fact, it's higher than I said yesterday, our export economy, and we can build upon that. The United States is obviously our top market for exports, but the next 5 countries that we export to only make up about $200 million. There's so much opportunity to diversify our investments and our trading relationships, and that's where we're going, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Thank you very much. So it's very typical of this Premier. Everything's beginning. We're beginning to review. They had 4 months to come up with a plan, and they have done absolutely nothing yet. Quick question to the Minister of Trade. Do you believe your government should extinguish its American investments and move those assets to Canada? In other words, does the Minister agree that we need to support Canada through investment and move out of the United States?
The Minister of Economic Development, Innovation and Trade.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Honourable Member, I know from my previous role as Minister of Finance, some of the investments we have are intertwined with U.S. investments, European investments. It's not a very easy thing to do. It's something, as the Minister of Finance has said, she will review. And as with any investment we have, we're always looking at the impacts to the province and to the country, and this would be one reason why we would review that. Thank you.
The Leader of the Opposition.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. So Islanders were told that the NHL deal would cost $2.5 million. Over and over again, we asked the question, and they continue to say $2.5 million. Now we know that number has gone up to be more than triple that amount, and the spending keeps piling up. Now, while families on Prince Edward Island are worried about the rising costs and businesses are bracing for tariffs, this government is signing big checks for luxury parties and corporate branding deals. Question to the Premier. How much taxpayer money has actually been paid to or committed to the NHL under this secret relationship?
The Minister of Fisheries, Tourism, Sport and Culture.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I appreciate the honourable member's question. I do want to remind the honourable member that tourism is an economic generator in our province, a humongous economic generator in our province. While a number of provinces across the country, including Canada, were down in tourism, PEI is up, and we are up substantially. $520 million in visitor spending in 2024 alone, Mr. Speaker. That is money that is reinvested to help those same islanders that you continue to talk about. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. So this is a continuation of the spin that this government likes to put on this secret deal that they had with the NHL. And they know that they spent millions of taxpayers' dollars at Prince Edward Island for their own little party, their own little vanity tour that they took, rubbing shoulders with NHL stars or what have you. Just, it was a very selfish reason for doing this, and they're trying to spin it that it's, all this money's coming back with tourism. So you're trying to say, Minister, that all the tourism numbers last year on Prince Edward Island that was record-breaking was due to your NHL deal?
The Minister of Tourism.
Yeah. I welcome that question, Mr. Speaker, because I have stated from day one in this role that this is part of a strategy. The former opposition, the Green Party, had always said, you don't have a plan, you don't have a strategic plan. We do have a plan. We spoke with industry. We worked with industry to develop this plan, and the numbers, as I will continue to reinforce and to continue to stick up for tourism, Mr. Speaker, speak for themselves.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. So again, just some more spin. Mr. Speaker, the Premier says that the NHL deal, the Premier has said it, the Minister has said it, that the deal is now $8.4 million. But we've learned that it probably doesn't even include, you said in the past, doesn't even include the cost of Four Nations tournament, another NHL-linked event. So the former Premier suggested carrying up the NHL deal when tariffs were announced. Instead, this government doubled down, signed another check for another NHL event. Another near $300,000 in sponsorship, $200,000 for a booth, and $20,000 in travel. Nearly another $20,000 on food, and more than $10,000 just to shuck oysters. While Islanders struggle and worry about their jobs, this Premier continues the tradition of this government by throwing parties for American executives. So question to the Premier, which ministers and how many staff attended this event, and why are you still keeping this spending secret from Islanders?
The Minister of Tourism.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Okay, I want to set the record straight here. So with the NHL contract, yes, we did partner with the Four Nations Cup. As part of the NHL contract, we were awarded one tentpole event, which would be basically the NHL All-Star Game, the outdoor game, the Winter Classic, et cetera, et cetera. That was one game. With the Four Nations Cup, we had 7 games. When you talk about those oysters that were being shucked, those were PEI oysters being shucked by Islanders. There were 16.1 million viewers across the globe who watched the final game between Canada and the U.S. with so many people Googling PEI. Our website stats for 2024 were up 140% for, I think, English and 79% through French. So thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Leader of the Opposition.
Thank you very much, but the Four Nations was held in 2025. So your 2024 stats don't count up to that. So, Mr. Speaker, the Premier wants Islanders to believe. I don't know what you're talking about. You're the one that signed the agreement. Mr. Speaker, the Premier wants Islanders to believe he's standing up for them against American tariffs. Yet the timeline tells a very different story. On January the 16th, this government agreed to sponsor the NHL Four Nations tournament. In late January of 2025, they received a bill from the NHL for nearly $300,000. And by mid-February, the minister was flying to Boston with staff to wine and dine yet another NHL event. Mr. Speaker, at a time when Canadians are anxious over unfair trade action, this government was signing a new NHL deal, handing over hundreds of thousands of dollars in island tax dollars for more cross-border branding and more corporate hospitality. Question to the Premier, how can you talk tough about U.S. tariffs while signing new NHL contracts that send public money straight into American pockets?
The Minister of Tourism.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The one thing about this whole trade war, which is unfortunate, is at the end of the day, a tariff war affects the consumer. At the end of the day, it's the consumer that pays the money. We continue to invest in the U.S. because we want those American tourists to come to PEI. We need those American tourists to come to PEI, Mr. Speaker. They are a high-yield consumer that will come here, and with the Canadian dollar being a little bit lower, this is a place where they can come and they can spend their hard-earned dollars. So we will continue to promote PEI as the absolute best place to live and work and raise a family. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The member for O'Leary Inverness.
Thanks, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, as you well are aware, during both the 2024 sittings, I have asked numerous questions to the current and previous Minister of Energy regarding PEI's electrical situation. Legislative committees have had presentations from Maritime Electric, the Summerside Electric Utility, about their situation to distribute power to Islanders and the challenges that they face. Yet, we have seen very little action by any of these ministers. Question to the Minister responsible for energy. Why has so little been accomplished by your department on this essential service of electric distribution to Islanders other than a passing reference in the throne speech about grid resiliency?
The Minister of Environment, Energy and Climate Action.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, and thank you to the honourable member to bringing this to the forefront of the legislature. It's an important topic. We've worked hard in the last couple of months to make electricity here affordable and reliable in Prince Edward Island. Now, I just want to make it clear that I've been living in Prince Edward Island for over 50 years. Don't want to reveal my age, but I stand to be corrected as well. Never once in those years that we had an issue in Prince Edward Island with the capacity of our grid, and I stand by that today. So everything that we've been experiencing has been technical and mechanical issues. So thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
The member for O'Leary-Inverness.
I would have to say that the grid compromises comprises of not only the poles, the wires, the whole switching systems. I mean, I'm not an electrical engineer, but I know what happens when we put too much power onto our system. We have circuits that break, and I think this minister's circuits are flipping there now. Minister, in April 24 answered questions. The previous minister stated that he was going to let the legislative process play out and see what staff recommends to deal with reduce power loss in transmission lines. But we had, and I quote from the minister, "We have the finest models of distributed energy, but we need to build resiliency for climate change and power loss, and we are going to tackle it," he said. Question to the minister, do you agree with that statement, and what have you done to tackle electrical distribution to all island ratepayers on a daily basis, regardless of whether the wind blows or the sun don't shine? Because in the throne speech, it says, the grid needs resiliency to upgrade again, and I know the people from West Point that are here, ask them about the power out there. They can't get three-phase power all through that area. It's terrible, Minister. Do something about it.
Minister of Energy.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And our department has been working hard, and we do have two pieces of work that are coming out very shortly. One is the PI Energy Review, which will be a comprehensive review, and that'll be coming out in the next 4 to 5 weeks. And we also had the PI Energy Blueprint that'll be coming out in the fall, which is a 10-year strategy. And on those fronts, we have consulted many different communities, over 60 communities in PI. Many islanders have been consulted as well on these documents, and we will be happy to share those as soon as they become available. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The member for O'Leary-Inverness.
So it sounds like the people of West Point shouldn't hold their breath before they see three-phase power out there. Minister, if your department has known about these issues for some time, why has so little been done? Now, we have seen children who were sent home because of power outages in Prince Edward Island. Businesses are throwing away product because of power outages in Prince Edward Island. Rinks had to close. And the recreational facilities are being closed because of power shortages. They can't get the power. When will this government act and actually do something on this file? While you say in CBC the power grid, as you said in this legislature, power never goes out around here. Well, it's been going out in Summerside.
Minister of Energy.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you, Honourable Member. What we're saying is anytime the power is going out, it's mechanical and technical issues, and we're working on that with Maritime Electric and with Summerside Utility as well. And as long as I've been on this province, we always had power outages. It's nothing different than we would have experienced 50 years ago. So what we're trying to do is have the resiliency, and having the resiliency on the grid and affordability is what we're looking for Prince Edward Islanders, and we're making great strides and great progress in moving that file forward with the expertise that we have here in the province, and also counting on the expertise that we have with our sister provinces. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The member for Bourne-Kinkora.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I've received messages from many islanders across this province who have experienced significant increases to their electricity bills this winter. 3 of my constituents reached out when their bills skyrocketed to over $1,000 just last month alone. One has 2 heat pumps and an oil furnace, and although she wants to use the heat pumps to be more environmentally friendly, she feels she's better off financially to go back to burning oil. Question to the Minister of Energy. Your government has spent millions of dollars in transitioning islanders to greener electric heat, but now the costs have increased so much many of them feel they're being punished. What are you going to do to investigate these suddenly increasing bills for Maritime Electric?
Minister of Environment, Energy and Climate Action.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I've been in constant communication with Maritime Electric and Summerside Electric, and also we can't forget it's a regulated industry, and we have to let the regulator do its job as well, and we've been in communication with the regulator as well to make sure that they're aware of all the complaints, and we're encouraging islanders to put their complaints forward, and we also have to realize that this past winter was probably the coldest winter spell that we had in the last 3 years, and the most wind we had in the last 3 years, and we're looking at all those factors together that would increase the capacity and that would increase the price that you would see on your bills. I was also one of them that what you looked, and we kind of had that conversation with Maritime Electric to see, and we brought that in front of the regulator to make sure that we have proper and fair prices for our everybody that has electricity here in Prince Edward Island. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The member for Borden Kincora.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I think it's time that this regulator regulate that regulator. Another islander, Mr. Speaker, reached out to me with a bill that came in at over $1,000, being hundreds of dollars more than he has ever seen before. He also has a heat pump, but in an effort to conserve energy and keep costs down, he keeps his home cold and he uses blankets to keep warm. Question to the same minister, it's unacceptable that islanders are not able to be comfortable in their own homes without incurring heat-related electricity bills that are over $1,000 a month. Will you commit, Minister, to launching an independent review and audit of Maritime Electric's billing, infrastructure and maintenance?
The Minister of Energy.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I think our department has already initiated. I think you're 2 months behind the 8 ball here, because I said what we've done is we've launched probably close to a year ago the PI Energy Review, which will reveal much of the information that the honourable member is looking for. Thank you, Mr.
The member for Borden Kincora.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I look forward to seeing that, and hopefully it does include the information that islanders are all looking for right now, because cold weather is not justifying what we're seeing on these electric bills. Having a private company, Mr. Speaker, run our essential services comes at a cost, and this is a perfect example of why I'm cautioning the Minister of Health and the Premier on their vision that includes privatising our healthcare system. Maritime Electric shareholders are guaranteed a rate of return of over 9%, which is being fully funded on the backs of islanders. Islanders are struggling to pay their bills, while shareholders are getting a hefty rate of return on their investment. Question to the same minister, will you immediately review this guaranteed rate of return, Minister, so that islanders struggling with high electricity bills are not the ones subsidising private investment returns?
Minister of Energy.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And as stated previously, the energy review, which I will be able to table hopefully in the next 4 to 5 weeks, we should be able to have all that information that we're looking for. And if we don't have the information that's available to us, then we will move in other directions. But this energy review is a thorough review, and we should be able to present that to you in the next 4 to 5 weeks. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The member for New Haven, Rocky Point.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker. We clearly have a lot of challenges on PEI, but one of the most persistent and serious is in the area of housing. PEI continues to have the lowest vacancy rate in the country. The gap between wages and housing costs has grown faster than it ever has in our history, and those who are experiencing, the increasing number of those who are experiencing housing insecurity, for them things have never been worse. Question to the Minister of Housing, Land and Communities. How would you describe your government's efforts to date in tackling housing insecurity on Prince Edward Island?
The Minister of Housing, Land and Communities.
Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker. I think we've done a lot of work to open up development opportunities. So I think we've seen a record number of starts last year in the housing role. I think the issue has become that those aren't necessarily affordable starts, and even a new apartment building, the cost per square foot puts the rent so high that the average person who we really need to be concerned about can't get into it. And I have a high level of concern about people who are trying to get in their first home. I have a high level of concern that the slowdown in the median income could affect the housing continuum. So I think we've done really good on some parts of it, but sometimes when you take the pressure off in other places, you put it into areas that you didn't intend. I'd like to see us be able to tackle the affordability, particularly at the younger ages, so we can help people get their starts early. People that have young families so that they can own their own home. And as you know, I have 4 children, some in the age of looking for a house and some that won't be for a long, long time. And I fear for the ones looking now or in a jam. I fear for what my 4-year-olds are going to face when it comes up. So I think we have to do way better on that affordability front. I just don't know yet where it is and how we can best take the pressure off without cartwheeling somewhere else and making it even worse for the below the entry level housing group. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The member for New Haven, Rocky Point.
Thanks, Mr. Speaker. That's an interesting response, and I would share, and I think you're absolutely right to have high level of concern for various folks in our community now, and particularly the younger folks who are trying to get in. You mentioned the lower end of the housing spectrum, and the most recent point in time count on Prince Edward Island revealed that in the last 3 years, homelessness has increased dramatically here on PEI. In fact, it's more than doubled. The Throne speaks specifically committed to a housing first strategy, and that's an approach where people are treated with dignity and respect, and they're supported with a complete suite of services. This, in many respects, is the polar opposite of the shelter on Park Street, where folks go there at 8 o'clock in the evening. They have to surrender all of their goods, all of their belongings. They're put in a locker, and then, of course, they have to be out by 8 a.m. the next morning. A question to the same minister. Housing first means getting people into permanent homes, not 12-hour shelters. When will you actually house people like your Premier has committed to do in the Throne speech?
The Minister of Housing.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So we hope to start a pilot this year. I talked to the current federal minister, who obviously is in an election of his own right now, but he was really receptive to what we were putting on the table for a partnership with the federal government to create a housing first model here on PEI, which we think could be used right across the country. Notwithstanding that, we want to do it right away. And you're 100% right. I mean, and I said it yesterday, kudos to the ministers who came before me, because we didn't have anything forever here in Prince Edward Island. Now we finally have sheltering space here. So we've made great movements to make at least take care of vulnerable people in that capacity. But I think we're up to close to 10 people that use our sheltering service here in Charlottetown who should be in another model of housing because they're ready to move on. And we're obviously failing by not getting them out of there. So that's what our Housing First model is going to tackle. It's going to take the people that are ready, put them in their own home. It'll be theirs, just like you and I. And if you look at Finland, they say they have an 82% recovery rate from homelessness and the associated issues by that model. So I don't propose that I'm going to fix this year. I propose this is going to take a while and several government efforts to do it. But what I hope to do is set us on the path, have a successful pilot, and make a model that's undeniably the model for Prince Edward Island from here forward. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Member for New Haven, Rocky Point.
Thank you. I appreciate a lot of what the minister said there, except I can guarantee you there's more than 10 people who would benefit from a Housing First program right away. This government is continuing in its pitched battle over Park Street with Charlottetown Council, and blame continues to be thrown back and forth. And the local neighbourhood and the folks who are accessing services at the Shelter and Outreach Centre are caught right in the middle of this. The two giant failures of this government, in my mind, are a lack of proper consultation with the community, and specifically those who live in the immediate vicinity, and also a desperate lack of comprehensive services for those who are struggling with mental health and addictions and housing insecurity. Question to the same minister, are you now left in a position that you will override the municipal jurisdiction in order to pick up the broken pieces that your Premier, the former housing minister, has left behind you on this file?
Minister of Housing, Land and Communities.
I don't know if I'd word it quite that way. I mean, this is a team effort, at least on our side. And what I'll say is this. I would agree with parts of what you said, and I would disagree with parts of what you said. I think there's been great effort put forward to work with the residents, to work with the city. I would agree that there's been too much back and forth by the two big players of government, and it's completely unnecessary. And that's what I've been saying since I've been in this role is I want to get away from that, make that the permanent home, move towards housing first, so we take the pressure off it, we house people properly, and we solve some of the issues. And the final thing I'll say, Mr. Speaker, is we paid the City of Charlottetown to hire 6 officers, and I don't know where they are, but they're not over there.
The member for Rustico Emerald.
Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, 4 months ago, the Service Dog Act was passed. It will implement a standardized system for the registration, certification, and identification of service dog teams in the province. Now, I speak to people on a regular basis that need this legislation in place. That's why I put a 2-year time limit on getting it proclaimed. Now, government has only 20 months left, and I'd expect at least a rough draft of regulations would be in place by now. Mr. Speaker, it's time to let the dogs out. To the Minister of Social Development and Seniors, what is the current status of work on the service dog regulations?
Minister of Social Development and Seniors.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you to the MLA from Rustico Emerald for pursuing this Dog Act. I know how important it is to you and myself, but I also know how important it is to the folks who require that support. And you could see that the day they were here with their dogs, and it was just heartwarming. And so we look forward, we're working on that act as we speak, and thank you for bringing that up today.
The member for Rustico Emerald.
Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker. So I did substantial consultation on the Service Dog Act and have a lot of valuable information to share, in particular from the surveys I conducted on both the public places and the service dog team side. But by leveraging the work I've already done, the department can really get a leg up, and they don't need to start with the dog's breakfast. To the Minister of Social Development and Seniors, when will the government be contacting me to set up a knowledge transfer meeting regarding my consultations on the Service Dog Act?
Minister of Social Development and Seniors.
Oh, my goodness. Thank you, member. You're awesome, really. You're awesome. But work is definitely underway. And we've had that conversation, you and I talked to the department. And they're doing a jurisdictional scan right now with, I believe it's Nova Scotia, British Columbia, and Alberta. And when that scan is completed, I asked them if they would have you in to have a conversation with them so you could share your knowledge with them. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
The member for Rustico Emerald.
Well, thank you, Minister. And Mr. Speaker, in the meantime, public awareness and education are vital for the successful integration of service dogs into our communities. Now, the Human Rights Commission plays a vital role in promoting understanding and acceptance of service dogs. It's really in their mandate. Now, the old saying goes, you can't teach an old dog new tricks. But I think a prominent education campaign can make a real difference and make sure people are barking up the right tree. To the Minister of Social Development and Seniors, will the Minister commit to funding the Human Rights Commission to conduct a service dog education campaign right now?
The Minister of Social Development and Seniors.
Thank you, MLA, for that question. And I think that I would go back with the department, have that conversation, and I will get back to you with that. How's that sound? Thank you.
The member for Summerside Wilmot.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. After that, I thought I probably should try to put some puns in my questions. But, Mr. Speaker, you know, I mentioned it yesterday in a member statement, and some of my colleagues across the way hit on it, that the power supply to the city of Summerside is a major concern, or rather the lack thereof. We all know that the city of Summerside and the electric utility have an innovative approach to their power supply through wind and solar, and they need that constant supply of power to go with it, and they've had a lot of downtime where they didn't know if they were going to get that. There was a threat of rolling blackouts for a week straight, and it left a lot of residents uneasy. The CEO of Maritime Electric came out and said if they paid more for their power, they could have been an uninterrupted customer. The mayor of the city of Summerside came out and said they've been trying to do this for a couple of years. So, Mr. Speaker, my questions to the Minister of Climate Change, Climate Action, Energy and Environment. Minister, what do you plan on doing so these residents don't have to go through a similar situation in the future with their power supply?
Minister of Environment, Energy and Climate Action.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. And first and foremost, thank you for the question. I've been directly involved and in constant communication with the City of Summerside. So has the Minister of Social Development and Seniors. We were on the phone every night, I think, on this matter. We had communication meetings with the mayor, with Maritime Electric. I was driving around in the city for 4 or 5 nights in a row, talking to businesses in Summerside, talking to residents of Summerside. I spent an hour and a half in the grid operating room with the operator, and it is a serious issue, and there is an agreement between Maritime Electric and the Summerside utility, and I will make sure that those two partners get in the same room and have a further conversation how to resolve this issue. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Member for Summerside Wilmot.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Well, that sounds like a great start. Hopefully the minister can promote that sit down and hash the details out. So back to that same minister. Minister, we can all point fingers and play the blame game, but this stems back to the decisions that were made in 2017 when public transmission lines were finished and they're handed over to a private company. Summerside Electric was allowed to use 10% of these new transmission lines, but they had to do it through Maritime Electric. So we're still in the same situation when Maritime Electric's infrastructure fails. Minister, if Summerside Electric had direct access to that, we wouldn't have seen these threat of rolling blackouts. Can you sit here and tell us that your department will look into this and see if we can't get direct access for the City of Summerside utility?
Minister of Environment, Energy and Climate Action.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. And as the honourable member probably already knows, it is a regulated industry. It is also an agreement between the Summerside utility and Maritime Electric. We will definitely get in the same room and hash this out. We also have a previous ruling from IRAC and also a ruling that was upheld by the Provincial Court of Appeal. And so we have to abide by those regulations as well. But we will have those further conversations with both parties. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The member for Summerside Wilmot.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. If we rewind a little farther back, the old cables that are out there are 180 megawatt cables. And as the City of Summerside grows, their infrastructure grows, and they're going to need more power. If they were able to access 10% of them, that would help and go a long way. But right now, they're not allowed to access any of the old cables. They can only get 10% of the new cables. Are you willing to sit down and look into getting them access to the old cables as well?
The Minister of Energy.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I will definitely make sure that the two parties sit down and we have a further conversation on how that we can move forward with this and make sure that both parties come out as winners and make sure that we are looking at a very resilient and affordable grid for all of our residents here in PEI. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The member for Charlottetown West Royalty.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Final question.
Thank you. I asked the Minister of Education. Early childcare spaces are incredibly important, especially infant spaces. This government is failing to produce those in the province of PEI. 1,500 people on an infant registry. People cannot go to work. They're worried about this immensely, and this government has not done enough to address that. Question to the Minister of Education. What are you doing differently to make sure that people in Prince Edward Island have the access to infant spaces and early childhood spaces they deserve and need to go to work?
The Minister of Education and Early Years.
Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you to the member for his question. So, since I took on this role just a short time ago, we've had many conversations over early years and our infant spaces, and our department is working very, very hard to figure this out, member. So, I mean, our system has got to be built on affordability, accessibility, and quality of care, and we have made significant investments along the way. We're going to continue to work on this file. I assure you of that. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
End of question period. Statements by ministers. Presenting and receiving petitions. Tabling of documents. The Minister of Finance.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, by command of His Honour and the Lieutenant Governor, I beg leave to table, pursuant to the Financial Administration Act, a report of borrowing of all loans and advances and of payments since the last report dated October 31st, 2024.
Shall carry. The Leader of the Opposition.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. If I leave the House, I beg to leave the table a document of expenses associated with the events of promo events during the Four Nations NHL event totaling over $500,000, and I move, seconded by Charlotte and West Royalty, the said document to be now read and lie on the table.
Shall carry.
One more.
The Leader of the Opposition.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. If I leave the House, I beg to leave the table an invoice for marketing and sponsorship agreement between the NHL and Tourism PEI for $250,000. And I move, seconded by Charlotte and West Royalty, that the said document be now received and do lie on the table.
Shall carry.
Thank you.
The Minister of Fisheries, Tourism, Sport and Culture.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. By command of His Honour, the Lieutenant Governor, I beg to leave to table a document indicating the visitor volume showing Prince Edward Island at 105% over the record level of 2019, as well as some other noticeable indicators, including the $520 million in visitor spending, up 4% over the previous record in 2023, along with numerous other stats on how well tourism is doing. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Shall carry. Reports by committees. Introduction of government bills. Government motions. Orders of the day, government. The Deputy Premier.
Mr. Speaker, I move, seconded by the Minister of Finance, that the first order of the day be now read.
Shall carry.
Order number 1, adjourn debate on the draft address, and debate was adjourned by the Honourable Leader of the Official Opposition.
I'll call on the Leader of the Opposition to continue debate.
Can I get
the podium?
Yeah.
Chelsea, would you grab the podium?
I need something to lean on. You guys lean on the federal government. So where did I, Mr. Speaker, leave off? I'm not sure. Maybe I'll start right over from the beginning again. So I do appreciate the opportunity to stand and to respond to the speech from the throne. It's the Premier's vision moving forward that he wants to move this province. And again, I talked yesterday about his vision not being very clear. And
Lights are out.
you know, the lights are continuing to go out over there. So we talked about electricity costs going through the roof. We talked about health care. And that's kind of where I left it right at that time, was with health care on Prince Edward Island. And I was talking about, even locally in my own district, about, in particular, 2 cooperatives that need this government to continue to improve the supports to them so that they can be sustainable and that they can provide the healthcare services needed in my district. So the medical center, of course, we're in need of a physician, full-time physician. We've had one since the beginning of that center back in the early 70s. Through no fault of their own, a few doctors have come in and gone. They have thought they had secured doctors, and as I said yesterday, they were encouraged to go elsewhere in this province through Health PEI, which I think was very unfair whenever you have islanders taking the initiative to improve the health care and find physicians and find staff on their own, and then when they do find them, there's a process they have to go through this government, and this government says, no, thanks for finding them, but we're going to take them and put them elsewhere. And that's happened multiple times, and it should not be tolerated, and it won't be tolerated. I knew about this for a long time, and I've kept quiet on it, but we're going to be taking, or I will be taking action on this very shortly, because it just isn't right to treat islanders regionally different than anywhere else on Prince Edward Island. And I ended yesterday by saying all islanders should have equal access to timely health care. Didn't even get into the Western Hospital in Alberton and the services that have been taken away from that hospital, whether it's through the emergency services, CEC. Islanders don't even know when each of those is open or closed anymore, because it's just closed for 3 days, open again for 2.5 days, closed again. And that continues, that cycle continues over and over and over. And islanders, in their time of need to have that timely access to health care. And they're not receiving that. And more needs to be done. I'm not sure why this government has turned its back on rural islanders, and especially when it comes to health care, but they certainly have. And we can't just say that they're paying favoritism to any area of the island in the rural areas, because we can look down Montague Way. Kings County Hospital is being closed now more than it ever was since it was built. So it's not just, I can't just take it personally in my own area. Actually, the Western Hospital isn't even located in my district. The majority of my constituents would actually have access to it if it was open. But it is in one of the government members' districts, and it's a shame that it just remains as a building there without being able to provide the services that we were accustomed to and that we Islanders deserve to have. So that is something that needs to change. This government needs to focus more on delivering health care right across this province instead of standing up and answering questions on a daily basis, or answering questions with just a bunch of rhetoric and pre-written statements that they bridge to, instead of giving Islanders the confidence that this government actually hears them. Number one is listening to their concerns and addressing it. And we're not seeing that. We're not seeing that. And I can say that with lots of backup from my district alone, and in my capacity as leader of the opposition, hearing from all Islanders, I can say that is also a feeling expressed to me by Islanders from tip to tip. And it isn't fair. It's not fair. So there is a growing frustration with affordability here on Prince Edward Island. The cost of living now is the highest it's ever been, obviously, but it's keeping young families in basements of their parents' homes. It's keeping them away from purchasing that new home or building that new home. They can't afford it. I mean, I said it in here last fall. I have 2 boys and I have property for them, land for them, but they really can't afford to build a new home right now. They can't afford it. And that's with the property provided to them. So it's just the cost of the building the home on it. And they work full-time year-round. And their partners also work full-time year-round, and they cannot at this time afford to build or buy a new home in Prince Edward Island. And that is shared by many, many people right across this island. Years ago, it was actually pretty easy for a young couple to get married and build a home and move into it and start their life, start their family. And now we're seeing a total change in that. These young families, even senior citizens that are trying to move to or downsize, are finding the cost just through the roof, no pun intended with that, and they can't afford to do that. And I think that's terrible given the time that we live in, Mr. Speaker. We talked about electricity costs that are today in question period by several members in here. The concern that we have about the infrastructure that's presently in place in Prince Edward Island, and the lack of concern that's coming from this government about the capacity on the grid and the sustainability of it. We know, and we're hearing it from anyone that's even wanting to invest in Prince Edward Island, the concerns that they have with the infrastructure in place in Prince Edward Island that's not adequate enough to grow. Maritime Electric itself has asked for assistance from the province due to infrastructure upgrades that are required. We have companies that want to participate in our Go Green here on Prince Edward Island, and they have concerns that the grid on Prince Edward Island is not sustainable or not even powerful enough to have them have the confidence to invest in that. And this government needs to do something to address it. They need to address it. Our population has grown. The infrastructure that's required to sustain that has not kept up with it. And I don't see any plans right now other than a possible review. Everything's a review over there. It's always we're looking into it, we're reviewing it, but there never ever ends up being a plan. And if there is a plan, it's usually a bunch of pictures, a glossy brochure. And we've seen that with their reply to the potential tariffs, and the threat of those tariffs from this government. So what we see is a sense that this provincial government is drifting away from their core responsibilities. Islanders have expectations from this government. This government campaigned asking them to be to give them the mandate to address the issues that we face on Prince Edward Island. And we're not seeing that. And there's a lack of planning to capitalize on our strengths here on Prince Edward Island. And there's a lack of willingness to heal our weaknesses here on Prince Edward Island. And that goes back to the example of just the electric grid that we have here on Prince Edward Island. This government needs to take their positions serious. They need to address the issues that Islanders are facing, and I do not see that in this throne speech. It's reviews, we're looking into it, it's thoughts, but it doesn't give any concrete plan moving forward of how they are going to address these issues, how they're going to fix these issues, or give any assurance to any Islanders, any confidence in their ability to help. So, you know, I go through the throne speech and all I see is just further evidence of a government that is adrift. There is no guiding vision whatsoever. There is no principle. Everything is about a headline today and a problem put off until tomorrow. And you see that time and time again. And I'll say it again. It's about a headline today, and they put every problem off until tomorrow. We talked about health care, and I'd love to go. We've talked about health care for the past 5 or 6 years, and I haven't seen any improvements on it. I said yesterday they stand up, the minister will stand up and pat himself on the back and boast about the new hires of healthcare right across the board. But what we see is the number that are exiting the healthcare system in here at Prince Edward Island. Those numbers, they don't brag about those. Of course not. We don't see those numbers being published. And again, they talk about 41 new hires. Well, they don't go into the details. Or what's their full-time equivalency? We don't have that. So Islanders are not seeing that. And again, the patient registry continues to climb. And I believe there was a promise to have that patient registry totally eliminated by this year. Next month? April. Yeah. April of 2025. The patient registry was to be eliminated, and it continues to climb every month. So bad, this government is so embarrassed by those numbers that they took the posting of those numbers offline.
Yeah, well, it's
for 6 months they took it offline. Of course they did. So that's just another thing, that a problem that they kick down the road and they deal with for another day. So for the past 6 years, we've seen a reduction of services. We've seen growing problems with access and an infuriating lack of attention to the day-to-day challenges that are faced by Islanders. Between 2019 and 2023, the population of Prince Edward Island grew from 155,800 to 173,800. That's an increase of 11.5%. But practicing physicians grew from 235 to 247, which is a 5% increase. You're not keeping up with the growth. Registered nurses from 1,704 to 1,478. That's a 13% decrease in the number of registered nurses in the province, in Prince Edward Island. In province bed capacity, acute and nursing home, dropped from 1,767 to 1,735. Acute care beds dropped from 458 to 433. Bed capacity per 100,000 population dropped from 11.3 to 10. Per capita hospital spending grew 5% between 2019 and 2020 and 2022 to 2023, while population grew by 11.5%. Mr. Speaker, this is a terrible record. And it's clear that this government is incapable of determining any real solutions to the challenges that we face on this island. Mr. Speaker, with that said, I would like to propose an amendment to the speech from the throne. Under the section Securing Our Healthcare System, on page 8, with the addition of the following as a final paragraph. This government commits to immediately creating an independent commission with full powers under the Public Inquiries Act to investigate the source of our challenges in healthcare and to provide a report to this House no later than November 15th, 2025, with an identification of potential long-term solutions. And I moved that this amendment, and seconded by the member from Charlottetown West Royalty.
Thank you, honourable member. Do you have copies of your amendments?
I don't.
I'm going to ask for a copy. I'll take a quick recess and get copies of
Yep. Yep.
That's right there.
Honourable members, Leader of the Opposition, because you're responding to the motion thanking His Honour for the speech, your amendment would need to be reworded, so it's out of order. Leader of the Opposition, continue.
Thank you very much for that consideration and ruling, Mr. Speaker. So therefore, I want to thank His Honour for the speech, but I want to recommend that this government commits to immediately creating an independent commission with full powers on the Public Inquiries Act to investigate the source of our challenges in healthcare and to provide a report to this House by no later than November the 15th, 2025, with an identification of potential long-term solutions. And I move, seconded by the member from Charlottetown West Royalty.
Thank you, member. Charlottetown West Royalty, speaking to the amendment?
Yes, please. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you for moving this important motion. And I think the speech from the throne is a very good place to have this, because it sets the tone for whatever's happening with government and gives us direction. These are important documents. I have the last 3 speeches from the throne on my desk. So I'm looking at the one from 2021, 2023, and 2025 and seeing how they all flow together. And right now, at this point, I mean, there has been some stuff in action and attempts, but where are we? In the 2021, the Memorial School of Medicine at UPI was just a thought, and then it kind of evolved from there. We are months away from this opening up. We have the Spindle report, we have the Peachy report. These are important documents. I went through the Spindle report today. We need an update on those. We need to look at this system as a whole. You have a lot of different information in healthcare that leads you to a point where we have to look at this as a whole and where we're going and where we came from. Things like in the Health PEI annual report, how did primary care visits go down by 7,187 last year, but it seems to be worse? How is that possible? If the numbers of primary care visits go down, the system should be better. It should be, but it's not. It's there at a position right now where they're struggling. And you know what? We are burning. What I'm hearing as the healthcare critic, our healthcare staff are doing this for the love of their jobs. They are there for the love of their jobs, and they're working very hard in the system, but they don't get breaks. And it's too much on them, and the system is closer to a bad position than it is to being healthy. And that's what they're saying. And they're there because they love the patients. And they're there because they want a better system, but we can't keep doing this to them. We have to make sure we look at this as a whole, see where we're failing and where we're not. We have just spent almost $6 million in less than a year through a private company, an untendered contract with KPMG to basically run Health PEI. That's what's happening. They're in there. I mean, the report was pretty good. And one of the big things in the report, I'll just say, was that the patient medical homes as they exist are operating at 47% human resource capacity. And we're going to add another 13, or we should have added another 13 by the end of December. And here we are. Those are not operating with full HR capacity, which makes it hard to expand a model which we desperately need. And we can only do that if we look at this as a whole and look at this as into a public inquiry that can give the public the information that they need based on the system as a whole. When we looked at the transformation office and what happened into that situation, or where it was phase 1, it was just going to be a quick in and out. Now we have phase 2. That's not what was told to us. And now we have phase 2. And I'll just tell you this in this House right now, this month alone, in March of 2025, provincial taxpayers paid KPMG $592,000 for this 30-day period. That's what our taxpayers paid to KPMG. we need to see results from those, and we need a public inquiry to figure out, or public looking into this, because we got to figure out if this is working and if this is value. There's some good information in there, but there's also great people that work within Health PEI. And some great people are leaving Health PEI because they're stressed out from every single level. And whether you want to start from the Health PEI Board of Director, from Summerside left, gone. Don't forget about that. That happened. And he left for a reason. The CEO, gone in dramatic fashion. And you can say whatever you want. He worked during COVID, split his time, did things during COVID that helped Prince Edward Island and got us through. And now he's gone without, I don't even know if anybody over there even said thank you, whether or not you liked him at the end or not. He gave what he could to Prince Edward Island. The Chief Performance Officer, gone. Chief Communication Officer, I'm not sure if he's still there. Chief Nursing Officer, I think she's still there doing a great job. Chief Human Resource Officer, I'm not sure. Chief Medical Officer, now we've split that position in two, and people are learning. So that's now we have a Chief Medical Officer and a deputy. That's the Chief Medical Officer? I don't know. Chief Operation Officer, not sure. Chief Financial Officer, been turned over three times, maybe in the last year. And there's a lot to talk about with that. Chief Administration Officer, I'm not sure either. That's your executive leadership team. And now we hear in the standing committee that's changing again, just different titles. We need consistency, and we were promised consistency on this side. So we need to inquire what happened, what went wrong, and why there's nobody there. And then immediately afterwards, we hire an outside consulting accounting firm, which is, I mean, they've got experience in this in different provinces. They're not on the ground here, or they weren't before. And now we're saying, here you go. Basically, we don't know what we're doing. We don't know where we're going. Help us. And that cost us $6 million when we had good people there. And these are all important factors into what's happening with healthcare. And people want consistency. They want to be able to leave today when their loved one gets sick, go to some place whether it is whether it is a walk-in clinic, whether it is Maple, whether it is different things, and get care within a certain amount of time. They need care. And what's happening now is that people are presenting with more and more complex issues because they weren't able to get care. And now it becomes a burden on the system. Now specialists are seeing people not for their specialization, but for 5 or 6 different things. You can't run a system like that. And at the same time, your primary care numbers, again, like I said, are down. The system should be getting better, and it's not. So this is a very important time to look at this. These numbers jump out at you, and these are people. These are huge numbers of people because you're looking at tens of thousands of people trying to get care. And the people that are there and the people that are working, I know people in the system working for 12, 14 hours because they want to make this better, and I compliment them. But what we're doing in here becomes very important, and they deserve to figure out the path that we're going on to improved health care. Because I can't sit here any longer after being in here since 2019 and not do everything I can to help the healthcare system, or else it's just, I see their faces, I know what's happening in the hospital. They come and they talk to us and they work and work and work. We need to be there for them, and this is important. And I mean, these timelines are November 15th, 2025 to get this done, is because we don't have time to wait. We have to get this done now. We see the KZMH hospital, just closed for little periods of time. I'm worried about the summer. I'm worried about the summer. I'm worried about the people who need that care. Same thing as the PCH. And the QEH, there's no room in the QEH right now. And there's no room for what we want to add to it at this time for the medical learners coming into Prince Edward Island. And we've got to address these things. There's money in the capital budget, but these things need to be pushed. If you look at the Spindle report, it says that we are struggling to be ready. And I'm worried. I want this to be successful. I want the Faculty of Medicine to be successful, and I know it will. The medical learners will be there. But what happens to our system in between? We've got to review the Spindle report and then the Peachy report and figure out what we're doing. And it's not good enough to talk about 41 doctors when we need more than that. It's not good enough to talk about, you've got to understand those have to be doctors that can see people, that are family physicians. We need everybody, obviously, but the family physicians is the first line. And you can go away with that. You can talk about patient medical homes. They're only operating at 47%.
Are you happy with them,
Well, nobody can get into them, and if you can, people are happy with them. But they're the same things that were done before. It's only as good as the staff that you can bring in and value and keep in health PEI. Retention has been a massive problem. We all need to value our healthcare workers, and I think we do in spirit, but there has to be different things. And this government has failed in so many different directions on that. Part of this review should be about the $8 million nurses bonus that went wrong. Went wrong for a lot of people in health PEI. And you didn't even spend the $8 million, and then it got reduced, and you couldn't figure out how to spend the money. I saw the numbers in the budget. That has to be reviewed. We see other provinces going ahead, Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, going ahead with bonuses. New Brunswick just did it. And that's why they're in a big deficit. But they said, nope, that's what we're doing. We're valuing all our nursing staff. Well, do you not think the PEI nurses are having a look over there? We've got to match. We've got to be able to value our nurses, our physios, our occupational therapists, our OTs, the people that work in there, our porters. Everybody along the lines, are people feeling valued about the services they're doing? Because that is a stressful job. And I talk to people at Beach Grove and PE Home, which is part of health PEI, which is part of the system. When they're talking about fundraising for a door so people can get outside, there needs to be a review. It's a simple thing. When they talk about, here's the date that we're going to fix the front door so people can get out, and it's late. I'm grateful that it's there. I was there when they opened up the front door of Beach Grove Home. It was incredible. There was a ceremony. People were there. They were sitting up a little bit straighter just to be able to, just the little things. We've got to magnify and increase the little things like that. That's where they live. That's their home. That's who they are, and they're beautiful. And the families are beautiful that support them. Where we're falling down is the little things. I can go down to the littlest tiny details when staff at Beach Grove Home take me into a bathtub that people can't get into. And they've been saying to this government, fix it so it makes it accessible. Fix it. Remove this bathroom for staff right here, knock that down and open it up so people can take a shower in public long-term care. That's what we're talking about. And that's an actual situation. These are the things that need to happen. We need to review the long-term care facilities, the 622 beds that have not changed in Prince Edward Island. They're still there. Those are public beds. Private beds have gone up. I understand that. But the public beds haven't. We have to be courageous and offer more public long-term care. So that might come out of the inquiry. I'm not too sure. But here's the thing, and I see the language, we need to decant the hospitals, we need to do more, we have to speed up the transfer times between the hospitals and getting people into long-term care when a bed frees up. We're talking about, it's so difficult, we're talking about minutes here, when I'm talking about lives, and I don't think you can rush the care that people need. I think you need to add on and make sure that everybody becomes safe in the care that they're getting. So and the healthcare professionals know. I just spent a lot of days with with my daughter, and she is so passionate about the work she does as a physio right in the hospitals. She can't wait to get in there, and she can't wait to talk about the people that she's helping and the views that she's, the different little strides. And she will not let anybody move them out of the hospital until they're ready, until they're confident. And these are the things that our healthcare workers do. So we need the hospital beds, but we need to plan so that our healthcare workers do not have to face that on a regular day, whether they have to get somebody out or where they have to give somebody care. And that's the little things about our healthcare system. We've got to look at all this stuff, because when you get the annual report, it's just numbers on a page. We can't forget about lives that we're saving and helping. And I think that's very, very important. And I hope with this, when we look at the speech from the throne, and I mean there has been some things done, and I mean the minister has, you know, the minister over on the other side has been good to, you know, talk about these things. He's always open to talking, and I appreciate that as we get going. But the plan and the vision and from 2021, 2023, and 2025, your healthcare in this book is not where I think it needs to be. And the first one in 2021, your government came out and it said, quote, "Change will not happen overnight. The process is designed to be evolutionary rather than revolutionary." That was in 2021. What is that? I mean, you could think about that as like, it needs to be evolutionary rather than revolutionary. That says hold the brakes, keep the system where it is. We're not going to make a revolution here when we needed that. And then in the next, well, that's the newest one. They all look the same. In the next one, the next speech from the throne in 2023, the system we have here in Prince Edward Island across our country was built decades ago and needs to evolve with the needs of Islanders. My government has embarked on rebuilding our primary care system recently. And then it says the launch of the patient medical homes throughout the province with overwhelming success in 2023, it said. Overwhelming success. That's what it says in the book, in the speech from the throne, right here. But it's the thing. And then the next paragraph says, my government plans to fully implement patient medical homes across the province with the goal to have 30 operational by the end of 2024. We are way away from that, considering the 17 we have are only operating at 47% capacity, but it costs us $6 million from the transformation team to get to that information. I mean, we need to, it's not always about the numbers on the page. It's not always about, in this chamber, the votes that we're trying to seek. It's about the quality with which we do our work. And we oppose back and forth in here about the information such as this. And the last one, and today, and we'll talk more about that, Islanders can get the care they need when and where they need it. That's just recently. That's exactly what Islanders are saying they're not getting. So we have a lot of work to do with this. People shouldn't be stressed because they get sick. It's stressful enough. They get stressed because they don't know where to go. They don't know whether to go to Summerside, or if you're in a certain area, well, look, what do? They look on the Times and they say, there's 96 people in the OR or in the emergency room at QEH, and that adds stress to them. Maybe we'll go to Montague. Montague's closed. Maybe we'll go to. It's difficult, and then they get in there. And the worst stat of all, the worst stat in the Health PEI book, and it's one that I know a lot of people are working on. When people get in to the emergency room, the average time that you should wait for a bed is 16 hours. That's your target. That's what Health PEI sets out as a target. 16 hours is the target. In Prince Edward Island, we are close to 96 hours. It's in the Health PEI annual report. That's days. That's days of stress. We need to collectively work on this. And that's why we need to review this where where governments go wrong so that other governments can pick up the pieces in years to come and not make the same mistakes that both governments of the time have made. And I mean, you would have, I wasn't here conveniently, but at the time, I'm sure that there were some mistakes that we made along the way that the other side pointed out, and vice versa. This is nothing out of the ordinary, but I want to see this moving forward. And the stability in which it will move forward has to be laid the foundation for right now. And it starts with the littlest things. And maybe it'll start with this inquiry and maybe saying thank you to everybody that works in there. And please choose Health PEI for a career. Choose the service to island people that built this community. Choose working at Beach Grove Home, because it's not the structure that changes lives, it's the people that work at Beach Grove and PE Home. It's those people that light up when you see them. It's those people at the front desk of the QEH that kind of say, hey, everything's going to be okay. It's the first emergency room doctor you meet. It's the x-ray technician or the blood work person that makes you feel at ease before different things have to happen to you. And that's what makes our healthcare system great. It's the people and it's the way they care. Well, we have to do a better job of supporting and retaining the people we have and recruiting the people for the future. And I think if we do that, and looking back at the past with this inquiry, which I think it's a nice, easy amendment that we should all get behind. And I encourage you to look at this and put it in the speech from the throne and allow this session in 2025 in the 67th General Assembly to have something landmarked that we can say, hey, you know what? We were here and we said we need an inquiry. Let's get it done and let's get it started today. And I fully support and second this amendment. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The member for Born-Concord to speak to the amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I'll be brief in my remarks. I just want to stand and support the amendment as presented. I think it's timely for the reasons expressed by a friend from Charlottetown West Royalty. What I like about the amendment is a couple of things. Relies on the Public Inquiries Act, which allows for an investigator to have all the powers and rights and privileges provided under that act, including the power to compel and subpoena, issue summons to witnesses, and also to compel the production of documentary evidence. It's important to have that when we're talking about doing a proper and full investigation. I also like the fact that it makes reference to investigating the source of our challenges in healthcare. We don't know how to fix the problem until we've identified the problem itself. We don't know the solutions until we identify the problem. What I hear, Mr. Speaker, from frontline healthcare workers is that they're not being heard and that they've got solutions and they've got the problems to present to government, to Health PEI. They're simply not being heard. So we don't know what they're identifying as the problems. We don't know the correct course and action of how to fix them. What we're seeing is we're throwing money at the problem. We're throwing money at the wrong places. We're throwing money at the administration, at the bureaucracy, at private consultants and transformation office, and we're not addressing the problem by doing that. Again, coming back to the amendment, I don't think that we're fully aware of the problems, and hence we're scrambling to throw money at solutions. And the solutions that are being presented and the options in these, as resulting from these private contracts, we have to pick and scratch and fight to get them revealed, to even find out what's in these reports. So again, the Public Inquiries Act, investigator appointed thereunder would have the ability to look into the problems and reveal all of the solutions from the investigation. So with that, Mr. Speaker, I support the amendment.
Thank you, member. Honourable members, shall the amendment carry?
No.
A recorded division has been requested, honourable members. Sergeant at Arms, could you please ring the bells?
The opposition is ready for the vote, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, member.
Third party's ready for the vote, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you.
Government is ready for the vote, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, member. All right, members, all those voting against the amendment, please stand.
The Honourable Minister of Economic Development, Innovation and Trade, the Minister of Finance, the Honourable Premier, the Honourable Deputy Premier, the member from Summerside Wilmot, Minister of Fisheries, Tourism, Sport and Culture, the Minister for Workforce, Advanced Learning, Population, and the Minister responsible for the status of women, the Minister of Social Development and Seniors, Minister of Education and Early Years, Minister of Environment, Energy and Climate Action, the member from Montague Kilmuir, member from Rustico Emerald, member from Tyne Valley Sherbrooke.
All those voting in favor of the amendment, please stand.
Member from Borden Kincora, the leader of the third party, member from Charlottetown West Royalty, honorable leader of the official opposition, member from New Haven Rocky Point, member from O'Leary Inverness.
Honourable member, your amendment has been defeated. We'll go back to the original debate.
So thank you, Mr. Speaker. Okay.
My apologies, member. Once you have moved that amendment, you can't go back to debating the original motion. I've exhausted my list. Oh, the Charlottetown West Royalty.
Thank you. I'll take the podium. Should be in there. Winter Wellness Day should be in here. See it though.
Get on the list.
I thought I went third. I thought that was part of the process.
Oh, just one second. Just one second. You still have the floor, Charlottetown West Royalty.
Okay. Thank you very much. And it's a pleasure to speak to the speech from the throne today. And it's always important. I mean, it was one of the very first things when you get elected that you see, and you're nervous, and you kind of learn after a few times about how important this is. And it's a document that I've made reference to in the past various times, and I kind of made reference to all three documents just a moment ago when I was speaking to an inquiry, which I was, I know it's a majority, and I know you don't have to support things, but I think you have to listen to the debate, and I appreciate the ministers that do listen to the debate, and sometimes it makes you just feel like, hey, well that's something good for PEI. We're not. Just because we're opposed, we're not. We're in this together, kind of thing. And I look at the speech very, very, very importantly. And I mean, I know, and I wish there was something about Winter Wellness Day in here. And I mean, I was disappointed. I'll start with the things that are not in here. Like it could have been Winter Wellness Day, something else. I mean, 2.0. And I'll tell you that Winter Wellness Day is a little piece of legislation that's important for wellness. We had the member from Charlottetown Belvedere up talking about gym usage yesterday. A very good job about health promotion and about getting people more active, getting the kids more active. They've been to Winter Wellness Days. There are pages in here, a lot of them. this Winter Wellness Day, I'm proud to say that I went to Central Queens. Yeah, you've been to Winter Wellness Day. For sure you have. Absolutely. Winter Wellness Day was just a simple motion to promote health, and let kids be the leads. Get out there, whether you're in Morel, whether you're in different places, come up with something for 20 minutes. And did you enjoy Winter Wellness Day? Have you enjoyed Winter Wellness Day? Of course. And it's, I mean, the member from Russell Emerald, the very first Winter Wellness Day, I remember seeing him on a sled and just sliding down the hill saying, Happy Winter Wellness Day. Yeah. And I don't want to talk about past votes, but I'd like to ask him if he remembers what happened. But anyway, but it almost did not pass. Not a good day, but that's okay. And that's why I brought this in. Voted against, the leader of the opposition just brought in something that was important, and it's everybody's prerogative to vote any way they want to. And, but Winter Wellness Day this year was, I'm getting older and I can't move but the way I kind of used to, but I was at different schools to try to go and promote different things. On the Thursday, went to Central Queens, trained the whole school, then did 3 or 4 different sessions, and the kids were incredible kids. Incredible kids. West Royalty, and I know the member from, the Minister for Fisheries and Tourism was trying to get there. That's something that he and I do together. This year there was, the population of West Royalty is absolutely incredible. The kids, there's 600 and some kids, and there was 90 staff there. There was almost 700 kids in a gym. Something that's very important. Birchwood, when kids are going in junior high, it's not an easy time for them to exercise and get active, but they did, and it's the kids that you don't expect to work out that are front and center. The kids that get lost in the system, and it gives them a place to kind of get out there and go. And then West Kent, and it was the first year I was back at West Kent, and the first time Tracy Ellsworth had always brought me into West Kent, and this is the first year without Tracy down there. So the staff and the kids were pretty excited about that, and I'd love to go everywhere, and that's what it's about. And that's what the beauty of legislation is. That's what the beauty of the speech from the thrones are. That's what I wanted to see more of in this speech from the throne is some different things on health promotion, is some different things on how we're going to proactively keep our people in Prince Edward Island safe and healthy with little things. And this government should take a little bit of credit quickly. It's not going to be for long, but I'm going to give you a compliment on your active transportation trails that you've done. It was an incredible thing. It's something actually, like when it first came out, I didn't think it could be done. It was just a big project.
You thought the bridge was over.
Well, yeah, it's like, so I'm just trying to get the compliments out early here, but and the minister at the time, who's now he's moving on and he's running in another he's running an election. He worked it out that he added, and he didn't have to because we're in opposition. He knew that it was important for West Royalty. He knew that safety concerns were important for West Royalty around the industrial park. And I'll give credit to James Aylward, who was a former member here, that he was the one who put that in. And I'll thank him for that. And the residents of my district are very grateful, and they use it.
You're going to have to vote for Natalie James.
So anyway, those are, I would have liked to seen a little bit more health promotion in here. I'd like to seen a few different things, but we'll start with the pressing issue of the time, which is securing our economy and tariffs, and there's been a lot of talk about that, and I was interested to see what this government was going to put in. How can you manage something that's as the Premier said, it's a moving targets, and tariffs are coming, and it's no fault of our own. But what I don't want to see is I don't want it to start hurting small businesses first. And it will hurt small businesses first and then go up the line. They cannot survive this. And I want to see, and there's some elements of things that we can look in here to make sure we protect small businesses first, because they get hurt. Then after that, it's doing the different things where we're doing exporters and we're doing, we're trying to, our big thing was, yes, we should be able to deal with and coincide with, and nobody kind of saw this coming, is that the leadership of our nearest neighbor has hurt our country, not the people, and not a lot of the people in the United States. And that's what's sad. That's what the hard thing is. And I try to remind myself of that if somebody would just tell him and, you know, tell the different people that if they're successful, if we're successful, you're successful. And I don't know if those days are here anymore. So thus brings us to Canada being stronger and united, and I'm so glad to see that we are. And I hope that continues right here in Prince Edward Island. But I was really disappointed to see a little bit of maybe right off the bat, right off the very first thing, our government waffled on studying what they should do about joining the other provinces right off the bat, whether it be about alcohol and sales, and I don't know why that happened, and I will be asking questions, but you waffled. And then you had to print something and put something else out, and I didn't understand that. This isn't a time for that. The word study doesn't belong in that really anymore. We just wanted a plan, and we wanted PEI to stay strong, and it was a little bit disappointing on this side, and I'm sure that you'll be able to respond to those things, but that's how I saw it. The Shop Local campaign is in here, which I think is a great thing, and I just would look to see the details on those, how that's going to work, what the investment from the province is, because Shop Local is so important, especially in Prince Edward Island. And then Shop Local starts with your smaller organized, smaller places. Victoria Row, you think about Victoria Row and the great shops down there and the different areas in each and every one of our communities. Like stop in and say hello and just spend some money locally. One of my favorite places in the area is the Charlottetown Market, and the same thing with the Summerside Market. And I encourage everybody to get out there and Saturday morning plan for it. There's no better place. There's no better place than the market to go and, you know, get whatever you want, but to see people and to talk about different things, whether you're getting something from, you know them by name. Like I sit and I have a chat with Harvey every day, every week down at the market, and you know it's a great experience, and the difference and the variety of people and the diversity of people. That's where you get a chance to say and talk and to understand different cultures and the diversities of Prince Edward Island, and really that's what made us great. That's what's making us great. And I want people to feel welcome as we support our economy, but as we shop local and we make a conscious effort to do that. And because there's no greater place than Prince Edward Island, and we're lucky to be here during COVID. We were lucky to be here post Fiona, post Dorian, everything in between, and we're lucky to be here as our country and our nation becomes under attack through a different mechanism. And this is the best place to be. But we have to be resilient, and I'm going to bring some people in tomorrow, and it's when I do my member statement, and I'm going to show you, and I'm going to try to dedicate my member statement to a bunch of resilient young men that did something great for Prince Edward Island recently. And as I watched them perform whatever sport they were going to perform, they epitomized what PEI was. They worked and they fought above their weight, and they constantly never gave up when everybody said no. You can't be a province. You can't do whatever. You're too small. We have to invite, like it's those type of things are no good anymore for Prince Edward Island. We're way above that, and we know it. Mr. Yes, exactly. I mean, the Minister of Tourism leads the way. Let's put it that for the record. But he has the same joy and the same life for his well, he's the Minister of Tourism. I would think that he would be excited about that. But we all are. And his energy and all energy of Islanders becomes very important. There are things in here, and I, you know, I can only sit back, and when I first saw that announcement about the Premier putting out about good news about the Confederation Bridge and the ferry, that there would be something actually there. I thought it was, the first message came out, because we're talking about the securing our economy, I thought when the first message came out, that was it, because the government was still sitting. So I don't know what a verbal confirmation of we're going to do this 3 days before an election is going to do to Islanders. I don't know, because I haven't received any, and this is important stuff for Islanders. But those kind of announcements on this side as opposition aren't, there was no substance to it. But something that the Premier could have done is he could have spent $4 million on bridge passes for Islanders and given them out. That's something that's within your control. You could have done it. You could do it. Well, everybody, why not? Every Islander gets a bridge pass. Every Islander gets a boat pass. You know, you get one every year. Why not? Look, that's something I would have liked to see in here. That's the speech from the throne.
That's the NDP coming out.
Well, you can say whatever you want, but that's what you're in control of as government. You don't go on and say, oh, I just got good news. I talked with somebody about the bridge and the ferry, and not come out with any details about what it's going to go 3 days before a federal election. You can do whatever you can to control your own messaging and what you do. And I think Islanders would get pretty happy about that. It'd be about $4 million, I think. You spent $6 on the transformation team. You spent $8.5 on a contract with an NHL. And then you didn't tell us what was happening. And you extended the contract. So it's not the money. The Premier, the former Premier stood up and said, money's not a problem. Well, why don't you spend it on Islanders? Like, well, you say you are, and you say you're going to reduce taxes and stuff. That was in the 2021. That was in the other speech from the thrones. It was in the other speech from the thrones, right? Right, former minister? Oh, yeah, but that was your decision. It was in there in the speech from the throne, and for those people who are watching, I'm having a conversation, which is never great with people. Like, I'm not talking to myself. Well, I hope somebody's watching. As soon as I said bridge passes, it just, Facebook crashed. By the time you get to, like, and the tax cut, the tax cut's great, I'm saying that, but when it first came out in this chair, I thought it was all going to be done. It was, and I know it was a lot of money, and I know we've talked about that gradual stuff. I understand. This is interesting, Mr. Speaker, because both finance ministers are sitting beside each other for the rest of this session. It's great. We can talk about the past and talk. But so, in the speech from the throne, it should have said, we are going to extend and add more to. And maybe that's happening. Maybe that is happening, and maybe if the budget's coming down, that's what I'm looking for in opposition. And hopefully that's there, because the cost of living, and that becomes a major issue with people. And I think the housing minister, there's some housing questions today. People can't live the way they used to because the cost of living has engulfed our community. And I think that's what the bridge was. I think that's what the tax credit will be. We have to get the cost of living down so that we can be competitive, so that we can, whatever it is, you're going to work hard. And I know the minimum wage is going up, and we want to, it's a balancing act, but we have to make sure we're there to support Islanders in those areas. And I think there will be some relief later on from the federal government too as well. But I think it's all hands on deck. We have to make life more affordable. And where in the United States, where the issues are is their tariffs or taxes. So the taxes have to be paid by somebody. The taxes go to government, and we don't need more taxing right now. We need less. And I'm glad to see. I think all the federal leaders and whoever's running will give the money back to people in Canada, and how we do that's very, very important. So, and you see it here with food producers and agriculture and fishing and the aquaculture sectors. Talked about it today, and these are our backbones, but everything that we produce has to be sold. And in order to do that, you have to have markets. And I know, and I'm grateful to see the trade missions. Trade missions take a while. Relationships take a while and I know this province is doubling our trade missions. I'm more interested about the countries that you didn't go to, that are not going to go to, that we've had that in the past. Let's keep building those relationships and make sure that's sped up, and we can get our product to market in all these different areas. And the Minister for Fisheries has to, and I think the member from O'Leary-Inverness talked about it too, is that he's got to be aware that when different things happen to industries like Dermo and like different things that are there, that the threat is real, the response has to be genuine, and it has to be for Islanders, and it has to be done quickly. And that's what we're saying on this area, because in the past, it hasn't really been that way. So we're looking at those areas, and I mean, in the past, the section on the economy is normally towards the back, and now it's at the front. And it's good to see it there. I do think it's a little bit thin on details, and I'll be watching for those in the past, and what a free trade, what an Atlantic free trade means in the Maritime provinces as the smallest province. What does that mean? And I'd understand, and if there's going to be exemptions, if there's going to be different things, I want to know what those are and why early on, so that we become a unified front. And here, if we're asking the country to be, we should be on certain things. That doesn't mean I can't be accountable to you, and I have to be able to be accountable to you. And hopefully with that accountability, you will do a better job with your role. One of the most interesting things in here, and I would like some details, and it seems what is a conversation about a port of entry in here, where we can use it to get our product to market easier. And I mean, in discussion, we realize that getting our product sometimes we have to get our product to Halifax, and I don't have the details in front of me, but that becomes an expensive part of the journey just to get to Halifax, and that becomes one of the most expensive parts of the journey. If we can do it from Prince Edward Island and put it right into the water right away, we have lots of water. How is that going to work, and has the research been done? I'd like to see more information about that. That is very interesting, but building a port of that size would seem to take a lot of planning, and has to be done with a certain amount of thoroughness. And if it's in the speech from the throne, we don't even know where it is, or what we're looking at, or the contingencies, or if the community knows. But it's an interesting concept, and it's very unusual, because I think this government has been, in my opinion, this government has been risk averse for the last 6 years. Haven't taken many risks, but this seems like it would be, wow, it's true. I mean, look, you brought 7 pieces of legislation in, like, that's not very thorough. We're going to be here for 18 weeks. I mean, what are you, well, 16 maybe. I don't know how long we're going to be here for, but that's not being, you know, you can look at it when your premier stands up and says a before and after school program is ambitious in nature. I mean, that's not very risky. I mean, put a before and after school program in, people are screaming for it. Yeah, but the response is it seems very ambitious. It's because it's universal. That's what it says in the document. It's exactly what he said. So I mean, I can go on and on about being risk adverse versus not, and I haven't seen it with this government. So, but the port seems like something that's of interest, and I'd like to get more information on that as we go along. I was interested to see in the part about the economy, there are also opportunities for community sectors to capitalize on becoming social enterprises and commercialize products and services. It sounds like a junior achievement model, which a lot of us go to, and it's in here. I don't know, social enterprises, but I think that the NGOs are busy enough trying to work with very few dollars to reach their mandate. I don't know if they're all interested in doing social enterprises or how that's going to work. I don't know what that means and why is it in the economy. I wrote on the side of my page, what's this? I mean, I want to support. I would just say, give the NGOs more dollars to help provide the services they are already doing, because the NGOs, the non-governmental organizations, provide important services that are under threat from our south. If you want me to get into that, whether it's diversity, whether it's different things that they help communities, they help people that are marginalized. That's what NGOs kind of do. They're there for those people. They want to reach out and help. They shouldn't be looking at necessarily social enterprises as something. They should be helping the people, and we should just be giving them more money to do that work. And I think, I could look at the various other ones. I mean, and you know what, there have been a few grants that have come out lately that are pretty big in nature from this government, and we can talk about that, and I think that's happened already. To a certain extent, there are some pretty interesting grants, but there are also NGOs that aren't necessarily treated the same kind of way, and that have to run through different hoops, and the playing field is not the same across the board. And hopefully that changes. And I mean, the Minister of Workforce, well, there's health grants too. There's Minister of Social Development has a lot of grants, and I think that those need to be more equal. But I don't know if becoming social enterprises or entrepreneurs is something that they need to be worried about this time. But they will support the people of Prince Edward Island and bring them up. And I think that's the part that I'll ask some questions on, because it's in the speech from the throne. And it says in the next paragraph, by working together, we can build a resilient, innovative, and inclusive economy that supports island businesses, strengthens our communities, and creates new opportunities for all. That's just a nothing sentence. That's, to me, it's like, honestly, it's resilience. Of course we're resilient. We're islanders. We are. Are we innovative? Absolutely. Here's the problem with innovation, is that innovation takes a back seat when business is under threat. And I'm worried about growth in PEI. And I'm worried about encouraging islanders to grow more, to hire more people in a time where there is uncertainty. And that will be an issue. So by working together, we can build growth in PEI during these uncertain times. That's what I would have liked to see. But it's resilience, innovation, inclusive economies. Inclusive economies. I don't even know what that means. What's an inclusive economy? So anyway, at Support Island Businesses, while challenges remain, our government is committed to taking bold action. Well, there we go. What's bold action? Whether it's securing fair trade opportunities, investing in key industries, or fostering new economic growth, the path forward requires collaboration, creativity, and determination. But you just said bold action, and then you went on with another sentence that didn't really explain what that is. And then it says, with a clear vision and a strong commitment to our people, we will ensure Prince Edward Island remains a place for prosperity, opportunity, and success for generations to come. Clear vision. Well, that's the problem. That's the problem that I've had, is that your vision has not been clear. I just brought a motion forward to do an inquiry on our healthcare system, because we don't know what you're doing. We don't know why you had a transformation office team there when we had people that should have been able and could do it. I believe in those people. But we brought in people from Ontario to help us out, who are accountants, to help with our healthcare system. Well, they have experience too. So it's things like that. It's confusing. Your actions don't match your words right here. So I'd like to see that strengthened. And again, that's under the economy. So it's different things when I read this. It's how things are a little bit confusing. The next area, securing our workforce. See the George Coles bursary. There's some information there about the George Coles bursary. I applaud that. And the Marion L. Reid bursary. Those are great bursaries for Islanders. But I do believe that George Coles was around for a long time. I think it's been around. I think it was brought in by a Liberal government, if I'm not mistaken. I wasn't here again. But so I'm glad that this government continued on with the great work before, because we cared about education. We care about education. We always did. And so do you on the other side. But it's under threat. It's under threat with the costs are going up for our university and our colleges. Enrollment is going down. People are working more. They're not finishing programs, like various other threats. I mean, we could get into them all over the place. But it's becoming more difficult to attract people, and it's becoming more difficult to attract international communities, which was the model before, and now it's totally changed. So costs are going up, enrollments are going down, money's got to come from somewhere, and we've added to it. We've added to it. It's exactly what's happening. Well, there are, if you can say enrollments aren't going down, but if you look at the international students who pay double the tuition, that's going way down. That's going way down. So revenues are going down doubly, and that's a problem. That's a problem, and students have come into the standing committee and said that they need more supports for various things. They need more assistance and aid. Here's what should have been in here. We're going to take action on the $75,000 housing report we did with UPI 2 years ago that's shelved somewhere, and it's cost you $75,000, and we have no information from it. So for 2 years, you didn't build any housing. When I told you, and I stood up in this legislature and I said, you should have given the $75,000 to the students. You should have given it to the Holland College and UPI and College Delisle students, but you studied housing and you're not going to build anything. That's what upsets me. Securing our workforce starts with our students. Starts with not making mistakes like this, and I look at that like a mistake. I want the students to have more money in their pocket, and we have to make sure of that. Everything is going up for students, the cost to go to school, which means it's on the families, which means it's more difficult for people. And tuition has to go up, but the government transfers, I mean, I think it's, the minister would know, I think it's somewhere around 48 million, maybe. Last year, I'm trying to remember back, there's restricted funding and unrestricted funding. That number is big, and it's growing quite quickly. And now with the Memorial School of Medicine at UPEI, that's more restricted funding. And I want it to work. I want it to work so badly. It's got to work, because we've come this far and we're in it. But it's going to cost. It's going to cost you a lot of money, and there's going to have to be a lot of supports, and it's going to affect a lot of different things in Prince Edward Island. Great opportunities the very first thing this government should do is that we've invested so much money. Don't look at signing return of contribution agreements with the 20 students before this thing opens. Maybe they already have. But we need to maintain, we cannot, for the first 3 or 4 years, you think about the cost to educate one person. We have to make sure that we keep doctors in Prince Edward Island. And we can't just hope that they stay, because they're talented. If they can get into med school, we want them here in Prince Edward Island and studying in this facility. But it scares me that in 2032 or 2033, not to be able to get a return from those doctors and those great doctors that will come out of the school. And I want to make sure, and I've asked that question before. So that's securing our workforce, and we have to start it right now. And it's your right as the government. You have contributed quite a bit of money into this facility, and I'm interested to see. First, it started out with $4 million. Then that first year, you got a $9 million bump over because they needed more money, and it started to go from there. The federal government has contributed quite a bit of money to it, but a lot of this burden and this cost is right here, and it should be well served. But we have to make sure we do the little things. And then there's securing our workforce. What does that do, and how do we provide people the best residency program here in Prince Edward Island in their second, third, fourth years? I don't know if we're ready. That's what the Spindle Report's about. And I'm worried. I'm worried about the residency. I'm worried about how we're going to do it. Read the Spindle Report. We don't have enough. We just came off of the CEO of Health PEI just announced a little while ago. We just came off of Health PEI being at overcapacity for 10 weeks. I don't even know if they're still at overcapacity. It was an incredible amount of time that we were at overcapacity. That's very scary. So it's these little things that, with one thing happening, how does everything else come in place? And I really think that securing our workforce, well, the last thing I'm going to say on that is that I was disappointed last year, as you know. I was disappointed by decisions of this government to change the rules change our immigration rules in the middle of something. I've never received so many calls. I've never received so many people that wanted to stay in this province, and we preempted and changed rules on them to make it more difficult for them to stay because of mistakes that this government made along the way and said, we have to control something. You use the excuse of housing, of medicine, of whatever. You built 69 houses. And then you turned and said, you know what? There's housing constraints. Most people that want to stay here live sometimes 5, 6, 7 people to a house. They're not the problem. They wanted to be here to work. They wanted an opportunity to stay, and we didn't make the right decisions, in my opinion. You had to do, and I don't really know, like the minister, I do know all the facts because I heard them over and over again from people that knew. But rules were changed, and I know it's hard, and I know the minister it was a difficult time, and I've met with various people, but I don't know if this was a great idea. I don't know if it was, and I'm so worried that people protested out here for an opportunity to stay and to live and to be an islander, and they're not here anymore, and we need them. You can laugh all you want.
The member for Charlottetown West Royalty has the floor, speaking about a pretty serious topic.
The same thing seemed to happen. I'm talking to people about early childhood education, and they're nervous, they're scared, and maybe the rules didn't change, but I saw different things on your website that didn't match the month before. People are coming to us very scared that you're letting a sector, people that are working here, that keep an early childhood education center going. They love the kids and the kids love them. And they are scared and they're nervous and we need them. And I know it's difficult. I know since you made the decision, I'm just as equally as upset at federal decisions that were made. I would talk to whoever made these decisions and said that you changed your plans at different times. I would do that. And I would say to anybody, right now, an election or not, that's upsetting to me because I believe that PEI Islanders, we believe in the person. We get to know the person. If you want to stop looking at people differently, ask them questions to get to know them. Ask them questions to get to know them. Not about what you see. Take a second to realize when you're meeting somebody and have a little bit extra conversation about somebody, not about their accent or what their color is, ask them about different things that are only about them. Smile at them differently. Ask them questions about how are they doing today. And this becomes an important factor all through the province. Think about the diversity between different communities in my area and across Prince Edward Island, whether it be Tignish or Surrey or everywhere in between. I remember the Minister of Education talking about somebody that he met at the Petro-Canada. I won't forget it, because I wanted to meet that person. It was interesting. It was interesting. But I can't go anymore. And when the gentleman that came to see me today, he's a doctor. He's a doctor. He came and saw me. His wife is here, and his daughter goes to Charlottetown Rural, is in the IB program. They don't know if they can stay. They don't know. He said, I want to contribute to this place. I want to be here. My daughter wants to go to school. She's in the IB program. She's getting scholarships. She's here. But we've got this over ourselves. He was stressed. Let him in and talk to him. And I said I'd do whatever I could for him. I don't know him. I don't know him. But I could see through his eyes that he's a good man and he's trying to build his family. I don't know if he'll practice medicine. He says he's got two certifications. I'm not sure. I don't even think that wasn't even important to him, whether or not he practices medicine. That's what should be important to us. But for him, he wants to be on the shores and on the streets of Charlottetown. He wants to be here with his family. He brought his daughter here, and his daughter, I won't forget her. I don't know, the teacher brought me in to speak to the IB program, and she sat up front and just watched and took everything in. Want to give her the opportunity. And I know it's hard for the minister, because so does she. And it's difficult with the rules coming down. And your staff is great, and everybody's is doing all they can. But collectively, if this is something that we have to change with the federal government, let me help push you with it. Let's do it together. Let's not do things because it's popular or because the polls say this or that. We need to talk and we need to look and we need to be there for people and see them in the eyes, because they are the future of Prince Edward Island. We have more deaths than births in Prince Edward Island. We have to maintain our economy, we have to maintain our people, and we have to understand that we are more unified by our diversities, because this is one world, and together it doesn't matter what you look like. And it's up to us to stand up when you hear different things other than that. Because I know the character, and I love the character in this room, whether or not we're on the same side or not. Everybody in here is representing their people and doing what they can, but we can do better. We have to do better. And thanks a lot for letting me talk, and that's just my vision about that. It's just, I got all these people, it's like, whether or not you saw me down supporting protesters or not, or what, I'm gonna do it every time, I don't care. I want people to be together. It's not about politics, and I don't care if I'm here for another 2 weeks or 2 months or whatever. You have to believe that we're building a future for Prince Edward Island. And I was just upset about the way that happened. And I appreciate the minister talking about it and various different other people, but let's try to do better. Let's try to communicate better. And that's all I can ask at this time. And make sure that we protect our jobs that we so desperately need. And it's not about where or what you do, it's about who we want to be as a province and how we want to grow. Because if you start to remove and don't give people the opportunity when they're 20 and 30, they will have families. They will stay here and have families, and they will be here. We are an aging demographic, and we have to make sure we're bringing in youth that want to stay. And I'm excited about that future. I'm excited about speaking about that. I really, there's some things I do like in here about securing our healthcare system. It's a start, and I would have liked to seen it added with, just to have a look at this, but about how we can study and how we can be accountable to what's happening in here. There are some good things done with Pharmacy Plus in our province, and I think that was a good first step. For various reasons, and this was a program that was continued or started off a long time ago, and it should continue as well. But there are some things in here that teeter on the line of where are we going as a province? Where's the shift going? And it's debatable, and I guess it's my time to debate that. Is that the reason why? There's some wording in here about private hip and knee clinics. Let's just talk about that. Is it a good idea? Is it not? It's that's the context of the debate, and I think it will be, and hopefully it will be, because our wait times for hip and knees are atrocious, or they have been atrocious. They haven't kept up. The facts are clear. It's been difficult about getting people in, and the reason why it's not the doctors, it's not the nurses, it's the fact that our healthcare system is being pulled in so many different directions. So I had a lady in my community that went to get her knee done, and she'd been waiting already for maybe a year and a half, and she was excited. Her daughter was a nurse in Ottawa who works in ORs. So her daughter came down to take care of her, and she said, "Oh, I could go into the OR and help my mother out, and whatever." So she came down just to take care of her mom. She wasn't going to do that. But when it came time for her to have her surgery, she got all ready. They all went down. Keep in mind, the daughter's come down to just take care of her mom. The surgery at the last minute was canceled because there was no available OR nurse in the hospital. So the daughter's down, and then she's got to go back, then come back down again. And the surgery was successful about 7 or 8 months later. But she had to live with that pain, and she had to do that during her time here. So my point is with that is that it's not the OR was available. It was here. It was the people. It was the people that we're struggling with, because life happens to healthcare workers too. They get sick. Maybe they're struggling with their infant because they don't have childcare spaces. Maybe their little one's sick from school. They need that time. But there's nobody there to back up the system. if this government's looking at a hip and knee clinic, they've got to realize that those only operate with people that we don't have in the public system. So if you don't have somebody in the public system, what will adding on a private hip and knee clinic do to the system? What do you think is going to happen? It's an opportunity for them to become an OR nurse or an outpatient nurse or a physiotherapist at a hip and knee clinic or whatever, RCW or what. These are all positions that need to be done. So if the government is looking at this when our healthcare system is on life support, it will only make it worse. We have a medical school coming, we have taxed infrastructure, and now we're talking about potentially a private hip and knee clinic, which seems like a good idea, maybe somewhere in Toronto, where they have lots of people, they have millions of people, but here it's going to be very difficult to staff and very difficult to recruit the nurses and doctors and the people to the public system. And that's where the problem lies. Not to mention, it's more expensive for the system. The CEO said, I don't care in this the standing committee, I don't care if it's private or public, I want to get it done. I know that's the argument on the other side. But it's expensive. It's so expensive. It's not an efficient way to spend taxpayers' dollars, public taxpayers' dollars, because you're paying a premium for the service. People are making a profit on delivering health care. That is not a great place to stand as the smallest province in our country. We have to protect our public system, in my opinion, because when you lose your public system and when you start to erode for imbalanced private care, it's hard to get the public system back. There's only so many places that people can work, and that's what I worry about with this. I saw the numbers for the MRIs, and people were like, yeah, we're getting our MRIs done, we're getting through our MRIs. It's an admittance that we are struggling with this, that we have to send people off, 2,600 people off. We got so far behind. We are struggling with this because of HR, because of staffing, because it's hard to get staffing. We're not enough people there to do the work. But what we're looking at doing is setting up a private, which is, I mean, I think there's no affiliation with the private MRI clinic in Summerside, but I haven't seen any MOU signed or anything with the province. But the technicians, there are only so many technicians, and we're a small jurisdiction. We can't staff the ones that we have. But remember when we asked this question before Christmas to the minister said, wait till January, and we're going to get more. And January came, and he didn't say wait till January or we're going to send 2,600 people to Moncton and pay a premium for service right there with taxpayers' dollars. I mean, that's not what he said. He said wait till January, and it got to be too much. I'm excited that people are getting through it, and I mean, I understand both sides of the argument, I do. But we've got to make sure that we value and maintain our system. And it happens in laboratories. It happened with respiratory therapists down at the ICU in Summerside. That's what happened. I met with them. There was one respiratory therapist, whoever the MLA is for Stratford, that saved the day. There's one down there and saved the day. She would go down every day to keep that place running. She knows who she is, and very quiet, unassuming, and she went down there and did her job and kept that place running because they needed a respiratory therapist. Something that before, as a critic, I wouldn't have realized the importance of that necessarily. So we're short respiratory therapists. And then, you know, I'll give this government credit because I met with her and then you signed a negotiated deal with respiratory therapists to increase their pay by 14%, something like that. Am I close to it? So that was good, but we did it too late. We needed to do it. We needed to stabilize it before. So that's why we need an inquirers. That's why we needed to look at that, because it was almost too late for our IC, for our PCH hospital in Summerside. So, well, yeah. Exactly. I can't translate that over the mic here, but so respiratory therapists, nurses, they make the backbone of the system, and so when you move and add these things on, you've got to make sure that the system can take care of itself, and that's what I'm worried about. Any movement that's too much right now, any imbalance, and we're in trouble. Locums, there's travel nurses all throughout the province. Are we dependent on that? Where are we going with that? We're paying a premium, which is making it more, putting nurses against nurses, and paying a premium for nurse services, driving the whole cost up. But what do? We've got to make sure we value our nurses that we have. We've got to make sure that we're not just giving saying we're giving one $8 million bonus, reduce that down to 4 or 5 million, and then say that's okay, because there's a whole system. So if you're going to give something to one person, and that's what Dr. Garnham said at the beginning, he said it in the standing committee, if you're going to do that, you have to give it to everybody. But you know where this decision came out of was the Premier's office. They made the decision without consulting with the CEO. So it almost sent the whole system completely off balance. You hear about Health PEI having trouble with the workplace environment at times. It hasn't been the same since then, and they're working hard for the patients. We have to make them feel valued about working for Health PEI, for the patients, and for everybody in Prince Edward Island. And it's something like that was totally thrown off balance. It was unplanned, and it was a good gesture for the nurses that got it, bad if you didn't get it, and really bad for everybody else. Because they were coming off of COVID, and this government got a lot of money. You had a lot of money, federal dollars come in, and you should have given that money to healthcare workers across the board to make sure that they were taken care of, and said thank you for the work that you've done. And no, he tried, but what you did was you gave him enough money to buy lavender seeds and a few chocolates, and then in different places in the province you made different decisions. Then you wouldn't take credit. Then you didn't know where the bonuses came from. You know where they showed up? Special warrants. Special warrants is where they showed up. There's a $12 million line, and in that, it was a $12 million line halfway down the page. I won't forget it. And then once we started asking questions, oh, there it was.
Treated them all different.
There it was. Yeah. So it's these kind of imbalances, it's these kind of snap decisions to do this that don't work out well. And then you get scared about that, and other provinces pass you over. And they're giving out bonuses, and they're giving out more incentives than we can compete with right now. And where are we at? Work on retaining your staff that you have and making sure they feel valued. And that's where I am with that. And it's the physician services agreement. You signed a physician services agreement, and rightfully so. It took a long time. I understand that. It's a huge document. I don't know if all the doctors are happy. You say that they're all happy, but that's not what I'm hearing. Nope. I'm not hearing that they were all treated equal, and you'll form another imbalance. I don't know if emergency doctors are necessarily super happy with that. I mean, I know nurse practitioners weren't, because they talked about it at the Health PEI annual general meeting. Oh, a meeting that was delivered. Health PEI general meetings are meant to give out the annual report. So Health PEI had an annual general meeting, and they didn't give the annual report out. We had to wait another 4 months for the annual report to come out. Here it is. Well, I can't hold it up, actually. Yeah. So but a nurse practitioner did talk about, you know what, you gave the physicians this amount, and here we are doing the same work, and you're asking us to do more, and the physicians got this great agreement, which they deserve, but now so do we, and you better take care of that quickly, because people, you guys said the nurse practitioners were going to be the way, and rightfully so, they should be, but we have to take care of them. We have to make sure that they're comparably done across the country, and make sure that they're valued for the service and the work that they do, because they, what I hear about for people in my district is that they really do a great job of taking care of people. Incredible. So you have some issues there, but I'm sure that you'll work at that. And these things are expensive, especially for small jurisdictions, but we have to compete. We have to make sure that we're on the competitive edge of this as we move forward. And then the one thing in here, I don't even know where to begin. I don't even know if I'm going to start on that today. I think I might save it for tomorrow. But here's the thing. My government will continue to invest in expanding the long-term care system by increasing publicly owned and operated facilities by 50 beds in addition to expanding private long-term care beds by 175. Okay, you'd think that's good. With the 175 beds, guess what your government did? You canceled your own RFP. You canceled your own RFP. Do you know what a request for proposals? It went out, it was on, I watched it, I was like, whoa, they're really doing 175 beds up in the western part of Prince Edward Island and Summerside. I think it was in the surrounding areas. There it was. And then you know what? Look back the next day, it was gone. It's gone. And then so we asked them in the standing committee, what happened to your own RFP? How can you cancel 175 beds? Because once you cancel an RFP, you punt it down the road at least a year. So that's canceled. This government punted that. Something happened. It made no sense to have that down when we needed your government back in 2020 to build 400 long-term care beds. That's what the report said. 175 beds, what did you do with them? In the standing committee, we're asking your government, what happened to the much-needed long-term care beds? Because all we hear about is not being able to decant the hospital. All we hear about is bed flow. And that's what the major thing was. Guess what happened to the 175 beds? You canceled it, your government canceled it. The reason? Does everybody want to know the reason? The Canada Building Code. That's what the reason was. It's just incredible. We've known the Canada Building Code was there. We've got models of different models that we can choose from. We're not recreating the wheel, but you cancel an RFP. Why you really did it, in my opinion, is to delay it another year. And by delaying it another year, you delay it 2 or 3 years. It's out of the. It's not your issue anymore. Maybe it's money. Maybe it's that you didn't put shovels in the ground on the mental health hospital. You punted that every year down the road, and here we are years later, 5, 6 years later, there's nothing done. And by the time that hospital is done, it's going to cost 3 times as much because it started at $60 million. We're going to get half the amount of beds, and we needed that. And here we are. And I know it's difficult, and I know it's easy for me in opposition to talk about these things. These are big projects, and I appreciate the people that's working on them. But at this time, you know, I'll adjourn debate on that and come back with a punchline tomorrow. Thank you.
With a seconder.
Give me the seconder.
Leader of the opposition for the seconder.
Thank you, honourable member. At this time, we will switch to business other than government. The member for Charlottetown, Belvedere.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I moved, seconded by the member from Tyne Valley Sherbrooke, that motion number 19, promoting awareness and education on protecting seniors and vulnerable individuals from online and telephone scams now be read.
Shall carry.
Motion number 19, the member from Charlottetown Belvedere moves, seconded by the member from Tyne Valley Sherbrooke, the following motion. Whereas individuals of all ages can fall victim to a scam, older people are disproportionately targeted. And whereas there has been a significant increase in online scams, phishing attempts, and fraudulent activities specifically targeting seniors. And whereas fraud is the leading crime affecting older Canadians, often resulting in financial losses and emotional distress. And whereas scams targeting seniors occur through the internet, phone calls, text messages, and even door-to-door visits, making it imperative to enhance protective measures. And whereas raising awareness and providing education on recognizing and preventing scams can help. Therefore, be it resolved that the Assembly urges the Government of Prince Edward Island to implement comprehensive awareness campaigns, educational programs, and stronger consumer protection measures to safeguard seniors and vulnerable individuals from fraud and scams in collaboration with the appropriate agencies and organizations.
Calling the move of the motion, Charlottetown Belvedere.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm just wondering if I can grab that podium.
Grab the podium for her.
I rise today in strong support of this motion, which calls for increased awareness and education to protect seniors and vulnerable individuals from online and telephone scams. This is not just a policy issue, it's a matter of justice, dignity, and compassion for those who contribute so much to our communities. March is the National Fraud Awareness Month in Canada, making it more important than ever to bring forward this motion to highlight what we can do to protect individuals in our province from scams. Scams and fraudulent activities have become a growing epidemic affecting people of all ages. However, it is the unfortunate reality that seniors are disproportionately targeted by fraudsters. These criminals exploit vulnerabilities using increasingly sophisticated tactics to deceive and defraud. The stats are alarming. Fraud has become the leading crime affecting older Canadians, with scams ranging from phishing emails, fake tech support calls, and deceptive door-to-door scams. The consequences are devastating. Many of our seniors, after working hard their whole lives, find themselves facing significant financial losses. But the damage goes beyond money. It affects emotional well-being and the trust in society and their ability to live independently. One particularly alarming national trend is telemarketing scams. Fraudsters have long relied on telemarketing to target individuals, but their tactics have evolved to become harder to detect. Using professional-sounding scripts, technology to spoof legitimate phone numbers, the pressure victims into acting quickly, exploiting their fear of missing a special offer or facing dire consequences. These scams can be incredibly convincing, and even the most cautious individuals can fall prey, especially during times of financial insecurity or desperation. The criminals who prey on the weakness show a complete lack of being conscious. Another prevalent from fraud is impersonation scams, where the phone numbers are spoofed to appear as familiar contacts. Fraudsters exploit trust and familiarity, making it terrifyingly easy to deceive people. This brings me to another emerging concern, AI, known as artificial intelligence. AI has revolutionized many aspects of our lives, but it also gives scammers the power tool to make frauds even more convincing. According to Stats Canada, fraud cases in Canada have nearly doubled over the past decade, increasing from 79,000 in 2012 to 150,000 in 2022. This surge demonstrates that fraudsters are becoming more skilled, leveraging advanced technology such as AI to refine their tactics. AI can quickly generate texts, emails, and messages that mimic the style and language of specific individuals. It can clone voices with alarming accuracy, and in just minutes, it can produce fake images, audio, or videos of real people. This makes it even harder for individuals to distinguish between legitimate and fraudulent communication. Many scams succeed simply because victims don't realize what they are, and therefore education is the most effective tool we have to fight against fraud. By informing seniors and their families on how to identify and respond to scams, we can significantly reduce this exploitation. Simple precautions can make the world of difference. If someone calls claiming to be from your bank, alerting you to fraud, hang up and call the number on the back of your card to verify. Establishing safe words with your family members to confirm identities if you receive an unexpected call from someone claiming to be your loved one. For those who want to test their scam awareness, I encourage everyone to visit the Competition Bureau Canada website to take the test. Test your knowledge of fraud. It's a self-assessment, and many people are surprised on how easily they can be deceived, highlighting the importance of ongoing education. Education should not be limited to pamphlets or occasional warnings. We must establish structured programs, workshops, online resources, and community outreach initiatives to ensure that seniors have the knowledge and the confidence to protect themselves. Law enforcement agencies have called this the new wave of scams, the crime of the 21st century. The ease with which criminals can target individuals globally through the internet and telephone makes it exceedingly difficult to track and prosecute them across jurisdictions. This is not an issue that government can tackle alone. We must work in collaboration with financial institutes, law enforcement, community organizations, and advocacy groups to develop robust protective measures. Banks can help by identifying unusual transactions. Police forces can strengthen fraud prevention efforts, and the community centers can serve as hubs for awareness campaigns. The key to ensuring that people are informed and remain vigilant is something that if it doesn't feel right, trust your instincts. Being scammed is not just about financial loss, it's about losing trust, security, and sometimes even the sense of dignity. Imagine waking up to find that your bank account has been drained, or discovering that someone has stolen your identity and taken out loans in your name. Imagine realizing that a job offer, a prize, or even a relationship you believed in was nothing more than a lie. The fear that follows is overwhelming. Victims question everything. How did this happen? What could I have done? Who can I trust now? The embarrassment can make it difficult to talk about, leaving many to suffer in silence, feeling isolated and ashamed. But let me be clear, being scammed does not mean that you were foolish. It means that someone, somewhere, exploited your trust and used your deception as a weapon. And that can happen to anyone. That is why raising awareness and providing education on recognizing and preventing scams is crucial. When people know what to look for, they can protect themselves and their loved ones. They can stop and think before clicking on a suspicious link, before giving out personal information, before sending money to anyone that they've never met before. Knowledge is the best defense, and awareness is key to prevention. However, awareness alone is not enough. We must encourage a culture of vigilance, one where reporting scams is easy, where victims receive the support they need, and every report helps law enforcement track fraudulent operations and prevent others from falling prey to similar schemes. Additionally, technology solutions such as scams, call blocking tools, and fraudulent alerts must be more widely promoted and accessible for seniors. We must work to ensure that regulatory frameworks adapt to emerging threats to keep peace and advancements in technology that scammers exploit. I want to share guidelines I follow. Do not ever send money to anyone you don't personally know or trust. Do not ever give a login or banking information over the phone. Do not ever click on links that are from unfamiliar sources. Do not log into your bank account or social media accounts unless through an official app or website. Do not give out personal information, including your name, address, birth date, social insurance number, your credit card or banking information, or any other sensitive details you consider private. Honorable colleagues, we have an obligation to act. By supporting this motion, we take a firm stand against those who seek to be exploited and our most vulnerable citizens. We send a clear message that fraud will not be tolerated and that we will do everything in our power to protect those who are at most risk. It is scary for everyone, but together we can build a society that is aware of the risks and take down those who prey on the vulnerable. Let us work together to build a safer, more informed community, and one where seniors can feel secure in their interactions, confident in their financial decisions, and protected from those who wish to harm them. Today, I urge you to take the issue seriously. Educate yourself and those around you. Verify before you trust. And remember, if something seems to be too good, it probably is. Together, we can create a safer, more resilient community, one that is prepared to recognize, reject scams before they cause harm. And I just want to say, kind of on a personal note, I had two of my children worked for CRA. And there were a number of times where they would reach out to try to give people information about their CRA account. And many times people would hang up on them or growl at them or tell them that they weren't true or that they weren't legit. And what they would say is they would give their identification number of who they were. And they would say, if you don't believe me, I'm going to give you a number to call back. So I guess in educating myself on that, I'm educating you that if you ever feel like the call that you have been received doesn't feel right, ask for a number and call back. I think that the people definitely at the CRA have gotten quite used to being able to calm people's fears and be able to let them know that you can call me back because I'm a safe place for you to call. And I think I look at it, my mom is in that age group. We talk to her all the time about, making sure that who she's talking to, who she's texting, who she's emailing, what emails she's opening. And, I think that it's a worry that sits on with me and my kids to make sure that my mom is safe in all of the things that she does. And I think that this motion is really important to make sure that the seniors that are in our community are aware and are supported. I thank you for your time. Thank you, Mr.
The member for Tyne Valley Sherbrooke.
Get the podium.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm proud to rise today to second this important motion brought forward by my colleague from Charlottetown Belvedere. This is one of those issues that, unfortunately, a lot of Islanders have a story about. A phone call, a message, a knock at the door, someone trying to take advantage of a person's good nature. And more, those targets are our seniors, our parents, our grandparents, our neighbors who built this province for the rest of us. Now, I don't know about the rest of you, Mr. Speaker, but I can tell you, this one hits close to home for a lot of folks in my district. And it makes you angry, doesn't it? To think someone out there is pretending to be a grandchild in trouble just to trick an older person into handing over their money. That's exactly what happened last year, right here on the island. Police arrested 2 individuals who were part of a so-called grandparent scam. The scammers would call a senior and claim to be their grandchild, saying they were in jail and needed bail money, urgently. Luckily, in this case, when the scammer showed up to pick up the money from the elderly woman, the police were there waiting for them. But unfortunately, not every scam is prevented, and we've heard stories of seniors being scammed out of their limited money. Now, Mr. Speaker, imagine how it feels to a person when they realize they've been scammed. Not just the financial loss, which is bad enough, but the shame, the embarrassment, the heartbreak, and the worst part, it's happening more and more often. Fraud is now the #1 crime affecting older Canadians. And scammers are getting bolder and more creative. It used to be the odd, shady email or a fake call from someone claiming to be from the CRA. But now we're seeing tech support scams that lock your computer and demand money to fix it. Text messages pretending to be from the banks, delivery service, or even loved ones. And these grandparent scams that play on the deep love and concern people have for their family. These crooks don't care if you're 75 and living on a fixed income. They'll take your last dime if they can. And this is becoming a real crisis across the country. In Ontario, police just arrested 14 people connected to a national grandparent scam ring based out of Montreal. These people stole more than $2.2 million from seniors across Canada. One woman lost over $38,000, and some of the victims were targeted multiple times. That tells you something. If a person falls victim for one scam, these criminals will keep coming back. They see them as an easy target, and that's just plain evil. So why do they target seniors? Seniors are more likely to be home during the day to answer calls. Some may be isolated, living alone, or without close family around. They might not be as familiar with technology, and they might not spot the red flags right away. But more than that, Mr. Speaker, Islanders are trusting. We believe people are basically good. We want to help, and that's how we were raised. And scammers know that. That's why it's so important that we protect the people before they get taken in. And that's what this motion is all about, just that, protecting people. We're calling on government to come up with a clear province-wide plan that includes educational campaigns, not just ads, but community talks, mail-outs, radio segments, and digital content that help seniors and their families understand the kinds of scams out there and how to avoid them. Partnerships with community groups, whether it's the Seniors Federation, churches, service clubs, or libraries. Let's work with the people who are already trusted in these communities to spread the word. Support for victims. Because when someone does fall for a scam, They shouldn't be left feeling ashamed or alone. They need clear steps for reporting, support from law enforcement, and mental health resources if they're feeling vulnerable. More public reporting. People don't always know what's happening out there. If there was a regular scam bulletin, maybe through the province or police forces, people could be alerted when a new scam is circulating. Let me tell you what some other places are doing, some initiatives we might want to look at here on PEI. Cities like Toronto have launched public awareness campaigns through police and municipal channels. They've also held community workshops, including some specially tailored to seniors with cognitive impairments. Out west in BC, there are technology literacy programs run by public libraries and NGOs, helping older adults learn how to spot fake emails, protect their passwords, and be safer online. I know the Seniors Federation does some of this work already, and perhaps we can help them expand on their good work. And in Nova Scotia, they've got something called Seniors Safety Program, run by coordinators who work in communities to provide crime prevention advice and direct support to older residents. Our government has done some great work for seniors over the last number of years, and I am proud to be part of a government that recognizes the importance of taking care of our seniors. And I give kudos to the Minister of Social Development and Seniors on working to develop a new Seniors Action Plan. I would encourage her and her officials to take a look at some measures that we could include in that plan. Mr. Speaker, I know budgets are tight and resources are stretched out these days, but we need to continue to invest in protecting our island seniors. The cost of doing nothing is greater. When someone loses their savings, money they worked for their whole life, it's not just a personal tragedy. It's something that ripples out through families and communities. These scams aren't going away. If anything, they're evolving. And we've got to get ahead of them. We need to talk about this more at the kitchen table, at seniors clubs, on the news, in the coffee shops. We need to make it common knowledge that no government agency, no police officer, no delivery service is going to call you and ask for money over the phone. We need to empower our seniors to hang up, delete, block, and report. And we need to teach younger islanders too, because they're often the ones helping their parents and their grandparents to navigate this stuff. We all have a role to play in creating awareness. This is a topic I feel is very important and needs to be addressed more and more. And that is why I've already scheduled a meeting on Monday, April 7th. I'm hosting the RCMP presentation on fraud and scams in Slemon Park. Mr. Speaker, I'll finish by saying this. The seniors and vulnerable people being targeted by these scams are not foolish. They're not weak. They're our elders. They're the same folks who raised kids, ran businesses, volunteered in our communities, and helped make our island what it is today. They deserve to live with a peace of mind, and they deserve to be protected from heartless criminals who prey on them. I'd like to thank the member from Charlottetown Belvedere for this important motion So let's do as much as we can possibly do to support and protect our island seniors and vulnerable people. I encourage my colleagues on both sides of the House to pass this motion. Thank you.
The member for Rustico Emerald.
Yeah, if the minister wants to go, Mr. Speaker, I'd quite happily listen to what
I have you on the list, honourable member.
I can go back on the list if you like.
You're up speaking.
I'm
your
up
call.
speaking, all right, well, thank you. Thank you, never one to relinquish the floor. So I did want to rise and support this motion. I did want to thank the member from Charlottetown Belvedere for raising it, and the member from Tyne Valley Sherbrooke for speaking to it as well. It's a very serious issue, and you know, it's one that seniors have been struggling with for many years, in particular seniors with frauds and scams, and it's something that needs to be addressed. Now, I know the member from Charlottetown Belvedere has a direct line and talks about this issue quite a bit, and I think that's why she raised it, because she knows what's going on the front lines, because she has RCMP connections, we shall say, and she knows what's happening there. And so I'm really glad she brought this up. They're more and more prevalent, Mr. Speaker, and I'm not sure exactly why that is. The member from Charlottetown Belvedere said it's easier for scammers to work now with technology like AI. Maybe that's one of the reasons. Maybe it's because we live in a more global world. We're more connected, Mr. Speaker, so it's easy for somebody anywhere in the world to connect to someone over here on the East Coast, for example. And of course, Mr. Speaker, what we're seeing is an increase in phone calls, text messages, emails. There's multiple mediums that you can try and communicate with people. And even door-to-door visits, although I'd be really interested to learn the stats to find out which one of those mediums is actually the most prevalent. Is it phone calls? Is it emails? Is it text? Is it door-to-door visits? Or is it phishing, you know, with emails, that sort of thing? But as has been described by my colleagues, the financial losses can be devastating, and it's not limited to the money being gone, but the shame for having fallen for a scam like that. And, I know my parents are both seniors, and I consider them to be very savvy seniors. I was talking to my parents this morning, and my mom said, yeah, your dad's up and about getting his breakfast, but he's got to go to the iPad first before he gets his breakfast. Go check the local news and the weather and find out what's going on. I'm from a rural part of Northern Ontario, and so to find the news, there's not really a local paper that covers the entire area, and so it's an online service, and most of the seniors use that, and they're very engaged on Facebook as well. And we can just see with the federal election and the way it's going right now, it's hard for me to even weed out what's real information, what's not real information, what's made up, who generated what. And I can't imagine what it'd be like for someone who's maybe not a savvy user of social media to go on there and you see something and you can hardly believe it. The idea of these deep fakes, and I think maybe that's what the member from Charlottetown Belvedere was alluding to, where, you know, I could take the Minister of Finance and I can literally make her say whatever I want. You know, not that I've tried that, Minister, but I know you could make that happen, right? And it's something that it makes it really hard to discern what's real and what's fake. And but one thing I will say is I think that seniors have each other's backs, Mr. Speaker. That's one thing that I've seen in my communities. And I've heard people joke about it before. I don't have to have security in my house because I live in a community with seniors, and they're better than any security system you've ever seen, because nothing happens in the community without them knowing what's going on. So seniors, let's give them some credit, are very, very savvy. It's these it's the newness, I think, of some of the techniques that are catching them off guard. So, Mr. Speaker, as has been mentioned by my other colleagues, you know, raising awareness and education is a key thing. And I wanted to give a shout out to the Star of the Sea Seniors Club as well as the Rustico Bay Seniors Club in my area. Both of them who are really, really engaged and have just a fantastic membership with a wide variety of ages as well, and are very active. I know at the Star of the Sea, for example, they've had you know, driving instructors come in and people sign up from the club to go out and learn different driving techniques. I mean, let's face it, the proliferation of roundabouts in our island is not something that everybody has had experience with, and they're engaged and they're taking advantage of that. And so I believe they may even have had some education sessions on this in the past. I know I was looking up to see if the Senior Secretariat on the island had funded any of these community-led projects, and it said they had. I wasn't able to get a full list. Minister of Social Development and Seniors, maybe I could ask her to speak about that. If in fact you can find a full list of Senior Secretariat funded projects online somewhere. I did a quick search and I couldn't. I mean, when I was minister, I remember just some of the fantastic projects happening there, and I'd love to be able to reference them again. So perhaps if it's not online, maybe you can talk to them about that. But I think that seniors clubs like Star of the Sea and Rustico Bay would very happily host these education sessions. I know they already get together every Wednesday and Thursday. Wednesday for a coffee hour in the morning, and Thursday a stitch and complain session. And they have a great time there, and they talk about lots of topics, and I'm sure that they would be happy, even within these time slots or outside of them, to talk about fraud and scams. So I wanted to talk about, you know, and this was alluded to by my colleagues as well, how the culture here on the East Coast lends itself to this, and people exploit that. I mean, there's a joke, if you get a wrong number, you know, on the East Coast, you might make a friend for life, right? And in fact, I don't know if you've seen this when you're on social media. I see it on Facebook Reels, but I think it really originates on TikTok. But there's a lady that's calling random East Coast numbers. I don't know if you've seen that. And I mean, at first when I saw it, it was kind of entertaining, because it's this lady. She's just really like a nice young lady. Actually, she kind of reminds me of Cheryl McCauley, the Minister of Housing, Land and Communities partner. She just very pleasant, and she gets on and she calls these random East Coast numbers, and she's like, "Hi dear, how are you doing today? And what's going on? And how are the grandchildren? And how's the weather? And what's happening?" And they get talking to her, and then she has these conversations, and you know, it's a little bit heartwarming, a little bit entertaining, but at the same time, there's that other side. It's like, is this, you know, ethical? Is that something you should be doing? It's something, I don't know if there are rules around it, per se, for doing that sort of thing. I know the youngsters even today still do the old prank calling tricks, right? Where they call up and they can get themselves in trouble. Going back to how do you do this education side? So there's very few publications that are actually island-wide. I think that we can use that, you know, have a reliable print base. More and more, it's about online. One of them, though, is the island-wide Penny Saver, and that's something. Actually, a couple of the owners do live in my district, but that's something I know government has used to advertise various services and government programs, and perhaps again the Minister of Social Development and Seniors. I know she's used it in the past, especially to get out the word about the Seniors Navigator and the different dates and times that are around. But maybe consider using that on a regular basis to get out information about these sorts of issues as well around fraud and scamming. Now, the other thing I wanted to talk about is artificial intelligence and technology can be a help to scammers and fraudulent people, for sure, without a doubt. But I wonder if there's an opportunity for seniors to be able to use that for their advantage, because I mean, I actually did a quick search earlier today in preparation to speak to this motion, and there's quite a list of AI tools that are actually designed to screen phone calls effectively. There's one called PhoneAnswer.ai. So these are a little more broad. They handle missed calls, they screen telemarketers, schedule appointments, etc. One called Bland AI, inbound, outbound calls, etc., etc. And I think there's probably an opportunity for seniors to be able to use this sort of thing. So if there's a number coming in on your phone that you don't recognize, you just let the AI handle that, and the AI can screen the call for you. Why not? And yeah, that's what the Minister of Housing, Land and Communities, I've had hours of conversation with him in the past, and now I don't even sure if he was really talking to him or not. I've got some really good advice though. But you can imagine a scenario in the future where a scammer is using AI to call out and scam people. It's being answered by an AI, and the AI are just having this conversation back and forth. It's I don't know. It's a strange future we're looking to. Thank goodness we have such an excellent speech from the throne in securing our future, and a great plan in this government. So when we're talking about this, I mean, this is not only a way for our government to lead the way to do great things, which was in the speech from the throne, the reference to AI, but this is a way to help local entrepreneurs and information system professionals. People, there is a surprising amount of knowledge on Prince Edward Island about artificial intelligence. For example, one of the parents on my son's hockey team is an expert in cryptocurrencies and the blockchain, and he is actually working with a company in Hawaii that is developing a way to, they call it MRV. It's a way to take biochar and validate it and make sure that all the information about it is stored so that you can track it and sell it as carbon credits. It's a really neat thing. I mean, this is about as bleeding edge as you can get. And this is a person here on Prince Edward Island who does this. Right? So we have a depth of knowledge on Prince Edward Island that I think most people would be extremely surprised to see. You know, if you don't know who to talk to. So what I'm suggesting here is maybe government could work with some of our island information systems experts and develop these sorts of tools here. And maybe this is a great one to start off with, right? And it wouldn't even take a large grant to do it. Maybe even working through the Senior Secretariat to go in and provide a tool that's specifically for seniors to screen phone calls and catch scammers. Maybe it's working with the RCMP and police services. Maybe they're the ones that sponsor the development of this tool. Now, I sometimes think I get a little too innovative for government. I mean, I might have been accused of that in the past. And sometimes it frustrates me, I'm not going to lie. Like, I have a great motion, for example, that I want to bring to the floor on bringing in photo radar. I mean, this is not crazy, you know, futuristic. Although you could use AI for that, it would make things amazing as well. But I have to say, I can't find a seconder. So I know. I'm wondering, you know, there's something going on here. At least the Minister of Justice and Public Safety, I was like, come on, what are you doing? You got to second this motion. Come on with me. And he's standing firm. Run a pilot in my district, anything. Let's move forward with this.
You're on an island.
We got the legislation, yeah. So anyway, the good news on that one, Mr. Speaker, is we're working through standing committee. I did get it on the standing committee agenda to talk to the different police forces around the island and get their opinion. And there's some varying opinions. The member from Summerside Wilmot will remind me that the Summerside police are not really all that in favor of photo radar. Although the member from Charlottetown Belvedere will say, how much have they actually researched and looked into it? You never know, right? So, maybe, but you know, the good news is, Mr. Speaker, she gets to speak again to this motion when she closes it. So she could probably let us know what she actually said. Yes. But if there is anyone here that, you know, wants to dig into the matter and really think about how much photo radar could benefit our island, please do so and let me know, because I got a great motion for you to second. All right? And I'll even look towards the opposition, the third party. You know, we're not exactly in an era of collaboration right now, but too busy. Too busy. I was going to run for speaker, but I wasn't sure how many votes I would get. So. Anyhow, Mr. Speaker, I want to keep on topic here. Don't want to get too far away from this. So, yes, exactly. So, protecting seniors and vulnerable islanders from scams really does require a proactive approach, and it means we have to collaborate across multiple departments in government and across multiple agencies and organizations outside of government. This includes community-based organizations like seniors clubs, as well as I think service organizations would gladly jump on board, like Lions clubs or, you know, Knights of Columbus or Catholic Women's League or United Church Women or United Church Men. All of them, I think, would love to play a role in this. Of course, within government, you've got the Department of Justice and Public Safety, you've got the department responsible for seniors. All of us can play a role to make this happen, or have to play a role in order to make it successful. So I hope that is indeed what's going to happen, and I ask for all members' support in this motion and taking the actions to put it into effect. Because as we know, often we talk about motions here. Motions are non-binding, but it's a great way to get the ideas on the floor and gauge where things stand, if you can get a seconder. But I have to say, my constituents are like 80% in favor of photo radar. And I don't want to use this time to talk about photo radar too much, Mr.
That's good.
So with that, Mr. Speaker, I do express my support for this motion and thank the members for bringing it to the floor. Thank you very much.
Thank you, member. The Minister of Social Development and Seniors.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I appreciate the opportunity to get to stand and talk about this issue, and I would like to thank the member from Charlottetown Belvedere for bringing this forward. As this motion states, individuals of all ages can fall victim to a scam, but unfortunately, older adults are often targeted. These scams are executed in a number of ways online, by phone, and we know that they can cause great distress, both financially and emotionally. So I'm going to tell a little story. And on Monday evening, I went out to dinner, and the folks who I was visiting, they were both seniors. Just before we started to eat, his phone started to ring. He said, "My phone's been ringing all day like this." And I said, "What is going on?" He said, "I don't know, but they're yelling at me. They want me to do whatever." And I said, "Okay." Phone started to ring, and I took the phone. And I said, "What is it you want?" He said, "I want him to go on his computer, and I want him to go." And I said, "Well, we're not doing that." Anyway, I hung up the phone, and without a lie, he called back 25 times, and he called back with a different phone number every time, and it was just instant. So talk about AI and talking about having to block that. There was no way to block it. There was nothing I could do. I did say to him, because he's a senior, I said, "Why don't you call and get a new number?" He said, "I don't know why I should have to call and get a new number, because everybody that I care about and everybody that cares about me has this number." So anyway, he just turned his phone off. And I thought, how sad that you can't keep your phone on. And so anyway, that's what's going on. And it was just torment. I thought, this just feels like torment. Plus, the ringer on his phone was terrible. And I'm like, change that ringer or turn it off or something, because it just went on and on. But anyway, it's a very serious thing. And I did say to the person that I was talking to, this friend has a police officer that lives next door. And I said, we're going to get the police. He said, you just go right ahead and get the police. I'll just wait right here on the phone. So no fear, no anything. You know, it didn't matter because they had so many numbers locked into this. So I felt very bad for the people that I was visiting. So thank you, member, for bringing this up today. So addressing scams and frauds is an issue that several departments within our government is responsible for. So I know with Department of Justice that we work closely with them. The Department of Social Development and Seniors plays a role in providing information and improving awareness about scams and frauds. One of the priorities of the PEI Senior Secretariat, improving personal safety and financial security for island seniors. So through the Senior Secretariat grant, we provide eligible organizations and groups who apply with up to $5,000 to implement projects that address this priority. And I think that's what you were speaking about, member from Rustico, a few minutes ago. Now, they aren't online, but that is something that the groups, and I think there can be up to about 50 organizations that apply for money through the Senior Secretariat grants, and a lot of them put this first priority. So in the fall of 2023, so about a year and a half ago, the department partnered with the RCMP, the CRA, and Service Canada to hold seniors financial workshops. And there were 12 in-person sessions and 1 virtual session. A portion of these workshops were dedicated to scam and fraud awareness. So the Department of Social Development and Seniors will continue to look for opportunities to collaborate across government and with organizations to provide education and bring awareness about fraud and scams so that we can better protect island seniors. And we are now in the process of a 5-year seniors action plan. And I've spoken with the department already in regards to that being part of the plan, which I'm pretty positive that it is. But I just wanted to ensure that because you had mentioned that earlier, member. So anyway, with that, I will take a seat. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, member. The member for Summerside Wilmot.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I appreciate the opportunity to speak to this motion today. It's one that brings much needed attention to a vital issue of fraud targeting seniors and everybody in this country. Some of the other members have talked about different incidents, and it's funny, it's not just seniors that get targeted, but while we were sitting upstairs in the caucus room, the Deputy Premier had a good laugh at me because I was saying, did anybody else get that text about are you going to vote and which way you're going to vote? Yeah. And he looked at me and started laughing. He said, scam. So I guess I was targeted last night as well, but it happens to a lot. And it's not just the financial impact for seniors and for everybody, but also the mental health that comes with it when our seniors are impacted by this, and they give away so much of their hard-earned money at a time when they're about to retire or they are retired, and they've worked their whole life to retire, and then someone comes in and cleans out their bank accounts. Like, it's just crazy, and it happens. Like the member from Tyne Valley Sherbrooke, he talked about an incident with one where the people are going door to door, and like it happened to a number of seniors in my district, where right down on the Virginia Ave, like right close to home, like, and it's just when you hear about it. The good thing is that we do hear about it because it was the talk of the town. Like, we all live in small communities, and when something like this happens, it spreads like wildfire. And it's like the member from Rusco Emerald, he talked about the seniors at her home, they're a great alarm system because they don't miss a trick. And I get a laugh because at my father's house, there's a next door neighbor that she doesn't miss a trick. And when someone comes over or drops by, she'll come over when you show up and say, oh, this person was here at this time and that person there at this time. So there are safeguards that are in place that a person doesn't even realize with some of these seniors that are out there. But it's amazing the amount of money. Like in 2022, the Canadian Anti-Fraud Centre reported that seniors lost over $9.2 million in Canada alone. Like, that's crazy to think that there was that much money that was scammed from these people that worked their whole life for it. And it's the fear and the shame that goes with it. A lot of these seniors don't report losing it. A lot of people fall victim to this, and they don't want to report it because it's the shame that they fell victim to it. And it's that number of 9.2 million. I can just imagine how much it would inflate if everybody reported when they did lose money and when they were scammed, because a lot of them don't want to. And then it's the mental health that comes along with it that these people live with, and they're thinking of that. And it makes this vulnerable population so much more vulnerable. And the member from Rusco Emerald and the Minister of Social Development and Seniors talked about AI a bit, and it is absolutely crazy when you pick up a phone and you get someone on the other end that's AI, and it's like you're listening and you're trying to figure out if it is a person. It's like it's amazing, and they're prompted for every response. Like, it makes you believe that you're talking to someone, and when you have a senior that is trustworthy, it's just absolutely ridiculous to think of what's out there this day and age for these criminals to target them. But our approach needs to include raising awareness and improving financial protections. But I know of one person that was close to me that fell victim to this. And he fell victim through a scam that was on Facebook Marketplace, and he sent money. He actually sent money for a piece of equipment. And he was one of the lucky ones that the financial protection was in place, because his bank flagged it and knew that it wasn't right, and they stopped the payment and then called them and said, "Did you just do this?" And he said, "Yeah, we did send that. You do know that this is known as a scam, and this could be, you should really check into this." And it come to find out it was. And like, that was a couple $1,000s that he sent as a down payment on a piece of equipment, that the financial protection that was in place, it allowed him to keep that money. Like, so there are some protections in there, but it's the mental health support too that we have to prioritize, and the trauma that trauma-informed care and community-based outreach. Like, when this happens to people, like, I know he was a pretty proud person, and he couldn't believe that he fell for it, and like that trauma is there with people, and if you don't have the proper safeguards in place, like, it can play with you and play with your mental health. And I can think of a number of different incidents. Like, I was sitting here while people were talking, and I said, I just want to speak to this because I can think of so many incidents of people that I know that were targeted. I have a cousin that we make fun of all the time because he was targeted, and it was something that he should have caught on to and he didn't. And we always get our little jabs in at him when we're playing cards or something like that. And I think of another person that the safeguard that was in place for them, someone that I know very well, I won't say who it is because he'd probably shoot me, but the safeguard that was in place for him was the cashier at Walmart. The cashier at Walmart was his safeguard. He got a phone call, and these people knew that it was right around the time that income taxes went in and whatnot, and they led him to believe that they said, you just made a payment that was just over $1,000, and it didn't go through. And you have till midnight tonight to make that payment, and the only way you're going to do it is if you get some Apple cards and send them off to this number and all that. And this person thought it was legit because he just made a payment for just over $1,000. It was like $1,200. And he went to Walmart because that's what they instructed him to do. And he went to Walmart and he got $1,200 worth of Apple gift cards. And he was asking the cashier how he did it. And the cashier said, whoa, this ain't right. They would never do this. CRA would never ask you for Apple gift cards. And then this person started to clue in. They said, oh my, like, this isn't right. And that was his safeguard. It was a cashier at Walmart saved this person $1,200 worth of Apple gift cards that were going to someone in another country, in another, maybe they were in Canada, but it was someone that had this system played down pretty good. And once them cards would have been inputted into this number, they were gone. So, you know, there are some safeguards out there, but this motion urges provincial government of Prince Edward Island to implement comprehensive awareness campaigns, educational programs, and stronger consumer protection measures to safeguard seniors and vulnerable individuals. And I just don't think that we can stress that enough. There's not enough safeguards. I will give credit to the member from Tyne Valley Sherbrooke. I don't think he touched on one thing that he said enough, and that was that he's holding a town hall meeting for seniors where he's having the RCMP come in and preach to them about fraud and fraud prevention. Like, I know there's a couple seniors in my district that said, are we allowed to go to that? I said, you definitely are. I wish I would have took the initiative that that member took to help our seniors out. He is always there for them and going with stuff like this. Like, it's just, you can never do enough to safeguard people against fraud, whether they're seniors, whether they're someone like myself, when the Deputy Premier pointed out that I was in the scam. And look at that. If a senior is out there listening and they want to take in the town hall meeting with Tyne Valley Sherbrooke, he has a free lunch for you as well. Like, you could not ask for better. And I believe he said it was April the 7th, if I got that right, out at Slemon Park. So if you're in around Summerside or you want to make the drive to Summerside, because the only thing we overlook is the water, come on down, and Tyne Valley Sherbrooke's having an open house, a town hall meeting with the RCMP in place to talk about fraud. But, Mr. Speaker, I could go on all day about this, but I'm going to shut it down so that important motion like this, we can get it to a vote.
Thank you, member. Having exhausted my list, I'll go back to the mover of the motion, the member for Charlottetown Belvedere.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you everyone in here today for supporting this motion. I do think it's important, and I do want to say in 30 seconds or less, another scam that's happening locally in our communities right now are people are putting out apartments for rent and asking for down payments, and there really isn't an apartment. So be careful when you're being asked for a deposit for a rental unit, that it's legit. So, yeah, no photo radar, Brad, you're on your own. Sorry about that. Or member from Rustico Emerald, you're on your own. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I adjourn debate.
Thank you, member.
For the motion. Question.
Thank you. Okay, members, all those voting against the motion, please say aye. Nay, I should say. All those voting in favor of the motion, say yea. Yea. Honourable member, your motion is carried unanimously. Thank you, member. The member for Charlottetown Belvedere and the Government House Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I, seconded by Montague Kilmer, adjourn debate for today and start again tomorrow on Friday, March 28th.
At 10 a.m.?
At 10 a.m.
Thank you, member. Shall it carry? Carry.